So like when you won the chip, that first initial feeling, other than euphoria, what was like the first thing you thought about?
Man, I literally was like, this is going to change my life forever. This is going to change my life forever because you're in the history books. Like you said, like yourself, you're in the history books. And that's like, it's a big deal, you know? And it's like, and I do compare it to being the same thing. You know, what you've done is the same thing as winning a World Series and winning, you know, an NBA champion. It's a championship. You've won the championship in your sport, which is food, which is unbelievable. So, you know, like that feeling that comes with that, it's like, it's one of those things that, I don't know, people just look at you differently just because you have this thing and you're like, oh, I'm the same guy. It's just, I just happened to win the World Series.
Should we introduce the podcast? Should we start? Are you recording?
Say funny, Jon Jay. We made this shit happen again. Whoa, you know how it is.
That is Mi Pistola by Puerto Rican rapper Jon Jay. John We are joined by Jon J-O-N-J, and I'll let Mike introduce him.
Welcome to the next episode of Fuckin Podcast with ads that people paid for.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for a little while.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just trying to get you to use the applause one. You didn't know which button it was. That's so good. That's so good. All right. Jay, what's up?
What's happening?
We need to do like the proper introduction, right? Nick always does the introduction. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, this is your wheelhouse. You've known this guy for how long? You could do an introduction.
I know, but it's you do the better introduction.
Welcome to Fuckin Podcast. My name is Nick Jimenez, and I am joined, as usual, by guest, 8th grade basketball MVP, one-time chili cook-off champion.
That never happened.
Proud owner of a Ford Bronco, Michael Beltrán.
Okay, that's fine.
Today's guest is... Sorry, what's going on? Oh, yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'm being offered water over here from our sponsor, Aquapana, official water of Fuckin Podcast. One of the official waters. Also San Pellegrino. I'm a still water kind of man. We are joined by Jon J-O-N-J, not only a classmate of 8th grade basketball MVP, Michael Beltrán. Sadly for Jon, they met after Mike's basketball glory days.
Yeah.
But also an alum of Christopher Columbus High School, the University of Miami, and Major League Baseball. We'll get into all of those things, I'm sure. Currently first base coach with the Miami Marlins. And I think that's about, that's all I got, man.
I got a great story.
Great.
So obviously I had Webb for class, right? And Webb was our baseball coach in high school. And it was me, Jojo Gutierrez, Jason Hill, Pat may have been in that class. Rashid Rancher was definitely in that class. And I remember, you know, like Jason always used to like poke at Webb often, like he would fuck with him a good amount. And we were just talking about like the team, and I'm pretty sure this was senior year, maybe. And he was like, if I had a team full of Jon Jays, we would win 4 state titles. That's what Webb said, like verbatim. And I always remember that because, I mean, that was kind of like your legend at Columbus. And then I feel like that kind of like trickled into UM after.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I kind of, just try to take pride in doing things the right way, and making the most of every single day and not trying to take shortcuts. And, that's something that I started at Columbus. And like you said, I took it with me to UM, and I took it with me, to pro ball and then to major leagues and, even in life now after playing. So that's something that I always took pride in, just trying to do things the right way, trying to treat people the right way. And I just had such a love for the game that I didn't want to cheat the game. I wanted to respect it.
Well, because I didn't meet you till high school. I actually don't think that we actually like met till maybe like sophomore year of high school. Because, Columbus was, freshman year, all I remember was detention. I don't really remember much else from freshman year other than just being in detention for like 80 straight days. But tell me about like when did you start playing ball? Like tell me about childhood all the way to when you got to high school.
Yeah, so I think since I was a kid, I just always loved sports, right? Like sports was just always like from what I was told from my parents and my grandparents. I just always my grandmother called me pelotica, so ball. So like since I was 2 years old, that was kind of my nickname. I fell in love with soccer first growing up. I think that was really my first love of a sport. But so I played soccer and baseball growing up from like 5 to 10 years old, and at 10 years old, I kind of hit that spot where Saturdays was getting a little too long for the family. It'd be soccer game in the morning, then baseball game, and it would just it got to be too much. So that's where I really, decided to start playing baseball, the most. And I really fell in love with it. I had no pressure. Nobody in my family had ever played baseball, despite being Cuban.
No way.
Yeah, despite being Cuban. And that time when we grew up, I mean, I think everybody played Little League Baseball. Everyone has that one
I played Little League Baseball.
Everybody played Little League. I tell everybody all the time, like, everyone I grew up with played Little League Baseball, for sure, at least once.
It's funny that you mentioned like the pressure because I think that's why I stopped playing. Because like when I was a kid, my grandfather, which I love dearly, he would sit there and just like critique. I mean, we're playing like T-ball, like critique everything. He's like, you need to do this. And I was like an angry little fat kid. And I was like, I just want to fucking hit things. And this is why I ended up playing football that nobody in my family ever played and nobody cared about actually. So it was like absolutely fucking perfect. But I mean, I played baseball, I don't know, probably till I was like 8 or 9. And then I didn't have a love for the game for sure. But I did love football like hardcore. So it's interesting that like the pressure, that you didn't have the pressure, so you enjoyed it more.
No. And I always say, I think that's why I was able to be successful in my career for me personally, right? I never had that pressure where it was almost like, hey, you want to do this? Go do it. But if you're going to do it, this is, it takes hard work, it takes dedication to get to where you want to get to. And kind of, I think I got that from, the work ethic from my grandfather of like, he'd get up at 5 a.m. and, he was a handyman. He'd fix air conditioners and he'd just do whatever it took to get by and right. to survive. And I saw him work hard every single day. And I just kind of said, well, if this guy came from Cuba for his family to have a better life and he sacrificed so much for me, whatever I want to be successful in, I just got to take that kind of same work ethic. And it's funny, I talked to my mom about it a little bit, or like, when did you know you could really play baseball or do, something? I said, from a young age, I just felt, watching Abuelo's work ethic and just, I was good at sports and I was good at it, but I just I knew I was going to be successful at something just because I saw like if you just work hard and you just put your head down and you do it, you can do anything you can do out there. So that was kind of all my motto. And I think, that was just from, growing up like that. I remember if there wasn't school, in elementary school, everyone got to go home and do who knows what. Like I would have to go to work with my grandfather. So like I never missed school. Like that just wasn't a thing for me, like to miss school. Cause that's like, I knew I had to get up at 5 a.m. and go work. Like I'd rather go to school all day and hang out with my friends. So I think that's kind of where, it all started for me with my work ethic was, watching my grandfather really bust his ass to, for his family.
Thanks to our sponsor, Aganorsa Leaf Cigars.
Aganorsa Leaf is renowned throughout the world for its signature flavor that possesses all the great attributes of Nicaraguan terroir, along with classic Cuban aroma and flavor.
Aganorsa Leaf is pleased to announce a brand new edition of Guardian of the Farm, Cerberus, named after the mythical three-headed hound that stood watch at the gates of Hades. This exciting new Nicaraguan puro uses 100% Aganorsa leaf tobacco and is wrapped in Aganorsa's new Corojo 2012 cover leaf, which adds a level of complexity to the blend, adding light spice and a rich, smooth body to the blend.
When you smoke one of our world-class blends, you will experience the difference between ordinary tobacco and Aganorsa leaf. That's why we say our leaf is our strength. Learn more about Aganorsa Leaf and use their store locator and find a cigar shop near you that carries their products at www.aganorsaleaf.com.
The two of us smoke Aganorsa Leaf cigars often. We also offer them to a lot of our guests, like, for example, Dave Arvello, who every time I post a picture of a Cerberus mentions to me in my DMs or in a text how cool the band is, which it actually is a pretty slick-looking band. But also, I just want to note, little personal anecdote here, so it's not all totally straight up red. I can say that Michael Beltrán will absolutely not only vouch for the quality of Aganorsa cigars, but you met a Miami legend and handed him an Aganorsa cigar.
I did meet a Miami legend. I was smoking nearby Alonzo Mourning, and we had a conversation about cigars, and he handed me one of his, and I went inside. I bought this exact same cigar, and I handed Alonzo Mourning this Aganorsa cigar, and I said, try this. Thank me later.
I mean, if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is. AganorsaLeaf.com. All right, you've heard us talking about the barrel here on Pan Con Podcast before. It is a sleek barrel-style cooker with loads of capacity that represents a new way to grill. Gets you great results in a fraction of the time that it would take you to cook, let's say, a rack of ribs on an offset smoker.
The legend of the barrel has only gotten greater. They're running around town winning cooking competitions left and right, including taking first place at FIU's North Miami Brewfest for Best Eatery. They're not even an eatery, people.
No, they're not.
I'm not saying they could hang with Nick making omelets in the morning, but it's still pretty impressive. Some South Florida chefs have even started to use the barrel in their restaurants. That's fucking wild. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for your backyard. Trust me.
You can get yours at barrelthebbq.com. Use promo code PANCON10. That's PANCON10 for 10% off of your purchase. The barrel is a hand-welded barrel-style cooker with a chimney at the center of its base and a rail that runs along the circumference at the top. So you can hang ribs, pork belly, whole chicken, salmon, cheeses, dips, sauces, and all manner of other stuff along the edge.
Whatever you want.
Alternatively, use the grill rack up top to sear meats or grill veggies directly over the coals. Use a pizza stone to cook your favorite pies. The versatility of the barrel is a thing to behold. Mike, you've used the barrel. Tell the people about what you did with it.
Yeah, my favorite thing with the barrel was actually the grill on top. You know, like obviously you can cook all the meats underneath it, but the fact that you can cook, you know, some veggies on the side, or, you know, if you want to cook cheese. I didn't use the pizza stone on top, but that's a very interesting idea. I think that the versatility of the product and the fact that you can cook a whole meal in one barrel, you know, makes it pretty versatile.
I mean, a whole bunch of meals. So when I had some people over for one of those fight nights.
Oh, the
at my
epic
house,
Nick fight nights.
One of those fight nights, and did a lot of chicharrón. So I just lined pretty much the whole edge of the barrel with pork belly, and had that be an appetizer thing, and also some ribs.
How did that come out?
Came out great.
Yeah,
Came out great. I also had a past guest, Louis Estrada. Chef Louis Estrada was on hand to try the chicharrón that we made.
I love that.
So
and
yeah,
what was his feedback?
He was a fan. He was familiar with the barrel already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Seen that? Chefs all over know about the barrel.
All the way to Brooklyn.
Yeah, all the way to Brooklyn.
Again, Barrel the BBQ, promo code PANCON10 to get 10% off of your order. Tell the people, Barrel the BBQ, PANCON10.
Barrel the BBQ.com. PANCON10. That means for some wild reason you will get 10% off your purchase when you go to buy the barrel.
That's right.
For all of your needs.
That's right. And you want to get all the accessories too.
Get all the accessories.
All of them. Good stuff.
Introducing the newest line from Drew Estate Cigars. 20 Acre Farm is a complex, refined, and medium body cigar with a super oaky and cedary notes accompanied by a whisper of white pepper and a bright hint of citrus. Built at La Gran Fabrica, Drew Estate in Nicaragua, using a velvety, and I mean velvety, Ecuadorian Connecticut shade grown wrapper.
Under that wrapper is a sun-grown Habano binder and a filler blend of Nicaraguan tobaccos from Esteli and Jalapa in perfect balance with the opulent and majestic Florida sun-grown leaf. Florida sun-grown is also the name of the farm where that tobacco is lovingly grown and harvested by Jeff Borshowitz, who's the guy you see in this video playing behind us, on his pristine 20-acre plot of land near the central Florida town of Claremont. I have actually been to that farm, along with plenty of other cigar tobacco farms in Mexico, Central America, and the Dominican Republic. And what Jeff, who by the way is a very nice guy, there's actually a cigar box signed by Jeff hanging on my wall. What Jeff is doing there is super legit. So it's always cool to see products like his, which is the only premium cigar tobacco grown in Florida, in products from a company like Drew Estate.
Plus, 20 Acre Farm being a Drew Estate product means it's the creation of master blender and Pan Con podcast guest Willie Herrera. Support our guests and sponsors. Get it online. Ask your local cigar shop about 20 Acre Farm by Drew Estate. Learn more about Drew Estate and use their store locator to find a cigar shop near you that carries their products at drewestate.com.
That's right. I'm probably going to smoke one of those right now.
What are we waiting for? Interesting too, like younger Hispanics, when they really paid attention to the older ones and watched the amount of work that they put into provide for their family, new to this country, a whole different way of life, and just like how much they sacrificed. If you paid attention, like it still affects me to this day. Like what my grandparents did for us. I mean, people ask me like, why do you work the way that you worked or work? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Just what I saw when I was growing up. So it's like, it worked for them. You know, I think it would work for us, and obviously it has worked for us. So when you were younger, why did you pick baseball over soccer?
I don't know. I think honestly, it's just a byproduct of your environment, right? You looked around Miami that time; it was just baseball fields everywhere. That's what there were. There wasn't really soccer fields and stuff like that. So I joke around with it. We'll talk about my wife later and all that. But she was a soccer player. But I always said, like, I think, if we did have those academies back then here, like I think I would have chose to play soccer, because that's really what, like, I just loved playing soccer. So
oh man. In Miami, it was like every corner was another baseball academy.
That's it.
Man, every single fucking corner was baseball academy. There was someone that played in Cuba and someone that's teaching you how to like swing the bat and whatever. Talk about like PTSD from when I was a kid. Holy fuck.
But like you said, the intensity of it, right? Like I remember it being that intense since we were kids. So, at each level, at each stage, you kind of get used to dealing with that pressure, and then you get to high school and you're kind of used to, dealing with all this pressure since you're, 12 years old with this. I remember going to the boys club and, after, before a game, they'd have, everyone's batting average up there, so guys would literally go, and parents, everyone's just there looking, they're like, oh, look, my son's hitting here, or, kids, you're 11 years old, you see your name, you're leading me, you're like, I'm that dude, so, you kind of saw that, and it was like kind of that pressure where I feel like in other parts of the country, you don't really see that back then, right?
I mean, baseball in Dade County is a big deal. It's a big, I think sports in general in Dade County are a big thing. Like football in Dade County is a big thing, but football in the whole state of Florida is a big thing. I just remember when we were in high school, baseball was like, it was kind of ruthless. Like this school was known for this thing and they had that one player, and this school was known for this thing. And then Columbus was always kind of like, Columbus was known for having a really good program, but I think Columbus always just had a really good program. Where did A-Rod go to school again? Westminster. Like A-Rod was a thing at Westminster. I don't really remember Columbus was known for a certain player, but more just like having a great team. And then obviously in 2003, was that the first state title that we won?
That was the first state title. We've always had Columbus has always had a rich baseball history of, and we had a lot of guys that played in the big leagues before. George Fabregas, Orestes Estrada. There's a couple guys, but as far as like going Division I, going to UM and just going out and having really good college careers and minor league careers. Columbus, we really do have a lot of guys that have had a big impact in baseball.
Why'd you choose Columbus?
So this is funny. So actually, I went to Carver Middle School. Okay. With Omar Murray.
Omar Murray. What a legend.
Omar Murray and Mario Obregón. So we're at Carver in 8th grade, doing our thing over there, and then we thought we were gonna go to Gables. We thought we studied French in middle school at Carver, and we're like, we're gonna go to Gables, do the IB program or whatnot. And then my mom was kind of like, hey, I don't think you're gonna end up going to Gables. We're gonna, I think I want you to go to private school. So I actually took the test to go to Belen, but didn't get in at the time.
Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations.
So I had a buddy, David Torres, that he had played football at Columbus. He was a year older than us. And I went one summer with him to, I think it was his freshman team. I went to the campus just to watch practice, and I just saw camaraderie. I just saw guys getting, I just saw like a big clubhouse, a big locker room. And I told my mom something like, hey, I'll go to Columbus. And my grandparents agreed to pay, I forgot what it was at that time,
$6,700 a year.
No, I think it was cheaper than that.
No. By our senior year, it was $6,700 a year. I'm pretty sure.
So whatever was my grandparents.
I think at the beginning it was like 48 a year, but now I know it's like 15 grand a year.
Inflation.
Yeah. It's also been 20 years, but whatever. We'll get into that later. It's fine.
So my grandparents had agreed. All right, we're gonna pay monthly, whatever it is. This is for you. You're gonna go there or whatnot. And I honestly didn't even know it was a sports school, and I had no idea about a sports tradition. And then somebody I played with at International at the time of the Boys Club was like, hey, if you're gonna go to Columbus next year, you want to play baseball, obviously. I'm like, yeah, I want to, I'll try out for baseball. I want to, play a bunch of sports. He's like, well, you have to play, web ball in the summer. And I was like,
web ball.
Web ball. And I'm like, what's web ball? Like, what are you talking about? Like summers, I'm trying to like, hang out or do whatever. And they're like, no, you got to do web ball. So that was my first, I got thrown into the fire. I played web ball. And I remember, I'll never forget this. It was, I'm in public school, middle school, so we got out.
What's his name? Joe Weber, right?
Joe Weber.
Yeah.
Joe Weber. Still doing it.
I know he's still doing it.
Still doing it.
It's crazy.
So I had, I forgot what happened. Like the varsity had a split squad or something happened like that, where I had an opportunity to go play with one of the split squad team. So I'll never forget. The game was at sunset at 3:00. I'm in middle school still. School gets out at 3:45. My grandfather picks me up early from school to go to a game. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is, I've never done this before. So I showed up there, and like you said, like it was just like, I'm this new kid, and I'm playing center field, leading off, and like it's like varsity team, and I'm in 8th grade. These guys are all there, and then everyone's like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I had never seen pitching that fast, and like I'll never forget. I struck out 3 times. My first year at bat, struck out 3 times, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I just saw like how intense Columbus baseball was, and like what this was really about, and how it's like, hey, if you come here, like you got to perform, you got to get it together. So that was kind of my introduction to Columbus, and Columbus baseball was that summer there.
In 8th grade.
8th grade.
God bless you. And then, so you had already decided you were going to go to Columbus.
Yeah, I knew I was going there regardless. I mean, that wasn't, I wasn't, I'm going to go here for sports or for this or that. I'm like, I'm going here because I want to go, for the education. And,
there was a lot of shit when we were in high school, and I'm sure it still happens now. It's like, kid ends up going somewhere else because someone else started over him, or they're not giving him the amount of PT that he wants or whatever. I'm sure it's still the same way now. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, but I felt like there was a lot of that there was a lot of it in football too. That's what kind of fucked us our senior year. But yeah, what was the first year? Because the first year you were on varsity, pretty much. No.
So I actually was on the freshman team my freshman year. I wasn't even on JV. So, I was on the freshman team. And I think that's where kind of like we talked about the work ethic and like just seeing stuff that we saw when we were younger. And that's when it hit me. I didn't make JV, which was a goal of mine. And I said, okay, what do I got to do? That's the first time I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, all right, what do I got to do if I want to get to this point? And that's when I started working on the mornings. So I would go to the mornings, work out with Pete Rodriguez. We'd go hit the gym.
Pete.
Yeah.
Pete was shredded when he was like 12.
Still shredded.
It's crazy.
Still just as shredded. Doing jiu-jitsu now. Just killing it. Yeah, killing it. So Pete, we'd go work out before school, and that's where I just, started getting stronger, faster, all that stuff. And then, sophomore year was my first year in the varsity.
You ever heard that story about Kobe when he was a kid? Like, this is like pretty sure like middle school Kobe. He was like he did like a summer league, and he was the worst player on his team. You ever heard that story?
I haven't heard that one.
Worst player on his team. I heard it was an interview with him. That's why I heard the story. And he was the worst player on his team, and he like had the least points on his team. And he was like, I just need to like outwork all these people. And he talks about the story like he goes into the whole year or whatever, and he's just like, I just need to work and keep on working. Like maybe next year I'll be like on the top half. And he just like he worked so hard that he wasn't on the top half. He was a leading scorer the next year, and he ran the team the next year. It was like, it just goes to show, like, you put the work in. I mean, more often than not, you're going to get the result.
Absolutely. I think, and that's a common denominator in successful people, right? Like, you rarely hear the story of a guy that's like, oh, yeah, I built this business, or I did this, or I was successful in anything that didn't work hard. And
right.
That's kind of, it's...
You get the people that are lucky.
Yeah.
But sometimes luck is preparation when it meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
Like it's just, it's like a whole like compounding effect. So you didn't get on varsity till your sophomore year?
Sophomore year, I was on varsity, yeah.
And how was that?
Amazing. I mean, I was just so happy just to, be on varsity, get the varsity jacket and just, get to wear that uniform. I think, I took a lot of pride in just knowing like, all right, get on this team and it's going to start a lot of good things. And I think at that time, I saw, okay, if you can go to Columbus and you can leave Columbus, starting in varsity as a senior or whatever, you're going to have a chance to go to college. And that was always my goal, right? I wanted to, I was like, all right, how am I going to go to college? How am I going to pay for college? So I was like, I need to get a college scholarship. I got to do it through baseball. That's my biggest, that's my biggest skill I got going for me. So I got to take advantage of it. And I saw guys, when I was a sophomore, Matt Barquette was going to UM the next year.
Matt Barquette. Man,
legend.
I haven't heard that name in 20 years.
Legend. So, we had guys going everywhere all the time. So, I think I really looked up to that, where I saw Matt, and I got to see him every day and see him work and see him play, and it's like, all right, if I can just do well here and when I get my chance to start, like you said, if I'm ready for the opportunity, if I'm prepared, then I'm gonna have a chance to fulfill my goal of going to college. And like I said, it's all timing, and everything worked out where I was able to play. I think I played the second half of sophomore year and got to start second half, so I got to play in the GMAC finals, which was like nerve wracking. I'm 15 years old out there in like Columbus baseball and starting out there for the county championship, and you're just like I think half of Miami's there to go see us. They want us to lose, and you're out there just.
They always want Columbus to lose.
It was awesome, the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's where all those little moments really started building to the point where I'm at now. But that's where it all started, was right there.
I think it's I didn't play it down for varsity till our senior year, like at all. I mean, I'm not I was never physically gifted ever at all whatsoever. So I played D-line. I was I'm 5'8" maybe. At that time I weighed 245, slow. And by the time I had to work. I mean, I worked my way from being an incredible non-athlete to still a non-athlete, but I knew how to play ball. I didn't play it down on varsity till senior year, but it was so worth it. I ended up playing 4 years of varsity in college. So it's you put in the effort. It may take a little more time, but usually the result is there. It's very interesting. Kids nowadays, they really want everything tomorrow. Yeah, putting in the time is it's a. I feel like it's a yesterday's idea. So, sophomore year, played the second half on varsity. What was junior year like?
Junior was awesome. That was one of the best, most fun, I think, where I learned the most about what a team is and chemistry and all that. We had our seniors, or Alex Meneses, Mike Lopez, Cesar Angurin, and they just really know how to get guys together and make everybody feel comfortable. And it was just a great group of guys. We fell short that year to Southridge. We lost on a one-hitter, which was an incredible game, regional finals. And I mean, it was just such a good team. It was a good group of guys. Everybody worked. Everybody got along. It was just one of those happy moments when you think about that group of guys and the summers and just all the time we spent together. It was just a lot of fun. It was super cool. And I got my first opportunity to start from the beginning of the year, so that was awesome. I got to play center field, start every day at Columbus, which is, it was, at that time I was like, all right, man, this is, keep on this path and you're gonna be all right. And just kept my head down and kept working and kind of doing the same thing.
And then the big year that led to several more big years after was our senior year, which was amazing. I mean, I remember, obviously I was watching from the stands, but that was an incredible story.
Yeah, it was amazing. Senior year we went on to win states, and it was awesome. We won states, and the season it worked out just from all those other years where we kind of fell short at the end or whatnot, that year we made it a point, all right, we can't, this is our last chance, and that's how every practice was, every, starting the fall, every game, and, we won the state championship. And, the coolest thing about that was, we missed graduation, but we graduated on the field after we won the state championship. So that was one of the best memories ever right there.
When did you get an offer to... I'll take another. Nick, you want one?
Yeah, but I'll do a cheap and brown.
Yeah, give Nick a cheap and brown. You want anything?
Cheap and brown.
I'll get a...
Oh, yeah. We're gonna get into this in a second, but I'll give you this now. Just for me, one more, and then a cheap and brown for Nick.
Cheap and brown. Right away.
So when did UM come into the picture?
Yeah, so that was, did well my junior year, and then that summer in junior year, they can call in July, I think it was, and they called, and right away I was like, yeah, I'm all in.
When? In December?
In July.
In July.
July before senior year, they called. And
before senior year?
Yeah, before senior year. Yeah, I committed that summer before, and they called, and
this guy brought point that thing toward the camera, dude.
I did that. What do you mean? Sorry, I'm not good at the ads thing. I'm doing my best here.
So I committed to Miami that summer before, and then yeah, it was crazy knowing senior year that I was gonna go to UM, but the biggest goal that year was to win that state championship, and that's where we were able to get there, which was sick.
And when you went into UM baseball was legendary shit.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was definitely a hot thing, and then you. I remember because obviously I was in Virginia when you were at UM, so like all I remember was hearing of like this like lore of Jon Jay at UM, like just like running train on all of UM baseball, and I'm like, man, shit's crazy.
Is that an expression we use?
Running train?
Yeah.
We did in 2003. I don't know about 2020.
I'm asking whether Bangkok Podcast uses that.
No, yeah, we do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we do.
Just want to make sure. I don't want to get in trouble later with the Jason Beard
relax.
Foundation.
Tell me what UM was like.
Yeah, so the crazy part was like, when I committed to UM, I was probably like 8th on the depth chart or something like that. And everyone thought I was crazy for going there. They're like, you're going to go there. Why are you going to go there? You're never going to play. Like it was just like, this is where I want to be. This is my goal. And honestly, like, as a kid, like, you play basketball growing up and you're like, I want to go to the NBA or whatever the case may be. But like for me, like I wanted to go to UM. That was like, if I go to UM, it's like, this is it. Like I'm good after this. So that was really, I want to wear those colors so bad. So, getting there, it was crazy. A couple guys got hurt, a couple guys transferred. Next thing you know, just worked, and then I'm starting from day one, which was like, I was like, wow, this is crazy.
As a freshman?
As a freshman.
Man, wild.
Which was crazy. Where I was like, man, I literally went into UM thinking like, all right, if I have to redshirt as a freshman, I don't care,
Right.
Right now, nowadays, guys are like, oh, I want to play right away and this and that. It's like, look, just let me get there. I'll work, I'll learn, I'll get bigger, stronger, faster, better. And so it was crazy that I got to start from day one.
What was the name of the coach at UM at that time?
Jim Morris.
Jim Morris, that's right.
Jim Morris, yeah. They're just coming off of going to the College World Series. I mean, I ended up, I think I played with 13 guys at UM that played in the big leagues.
Wow.
Just at UM in that time. So, and, these are practices where, everyone's talking shit. It was just like,
I love that.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That.
I mean, Danny Gill that went to Columbus with us, he had an incredible career at UM, and he was my roommate. I remember, I get a hit off him and get to first and look at him and like, take that or whatever the case. And it was just like, it was always back and forth. It was always like, we used to joke around where like our practices were harder than our games. Like when the games came around and, whatever team came in, it's like, we were so confident. We had driven each other crazy during their practices that the games were it was a little bit easier for us.
What were some of the highlights and the lowlights? Tell me well, let's talk about lowlights first from UM in those 4 years before we get into the highlights. Like, what were some things that you were like, man, I wish that would have gone differently, or, this went super sideways. I didn't expect it to go that way, or whatever in those 4 years?
I think honestly, I was pretty lucky. Just normal life. You're a kid. You're trying to grow up, and I'd say the hardest part for me was, I go to college, right? I'm here at UM at home, so. You have your friends from high school, right? You have your friends from growing up. Then you're in college now, so you have a new team, and then
right.
The land.
And you're trying to be part of the team.
Trying to be part of the team. So we have 6 a.m. workouts. Then I'm in school from how it is from 8 to 12, and then go back to the field from 2 to 6. And you have study hall, and it's like and the same thing with the family, right? Where it's a cousin's birthday or it's an aunt's birthday or whatever's going on. It's like, well, I have practice and I have all these. So for me, being at home and at that young age, really learning how to juggle all that, which was what but it taught me early on, like, having tough conversations, like talking with my mom and be like, hey mom, look, I can come do this day, I can come do this that day, but I have practice and I have these different things, so I can't commit to, I know those are cousins, but I can, so that was really when I, had to start making those kind of sacrifices, which were.
This is a Major League Baseball player. We don't give him cheap and brown. What's wrong with you? Cheap and brown is for the producer. Come on. That guy.
Thank you, man.
There it is. All the sound effects are amazing. Thank you. And then highlights at UM.
Oh man, every day. Every day I got to play in front of my friends, family, and at home.
I think I went to like 5 games when.
Love it. Yeah.
Pretty sure. I mean, because I was in Virginia, but I tried to come home as much as I could, and I'm pretty sure I saw 5 games when you were there.
That was awesome. And I remember at the time off of Ponce, the batting cages were outside. They have a brand new, unbelievable facility now, but they're outside, and the hedges.
Of course now. Right, like Columbus. Of course
exactly.
now.
We won the state championship.
No, hold on. You guys got lucky with the new field while we were there.
No.
Yeah, you did.
They got it right after us. We won, and then they got the new field.
Was that the year after we left?
04 got it. 04 got it. Yeah. Yeah, 04 got the nice.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen? Just whatever.
When you cut this out, but have you seen like the weight room and shit? It's fucking wild. It's like there's D1 programs that don't have that. It's fucking crazy.
I remember when I judged the pig roast last year, I'm just walking around like, where the fuck am I? Like, I hadn't been back in probably a decade.
Oh no, then you're gonna freak out. You freak out.
And I walked in there and I'm like, there's a garage back here. There's this weight room. Like, I was like, this shit's fucking crazy, dog. Anyways, tell me about like the highlights. Obviously, like every day is a highlight, but what are like maybe like 3 things that stand out, like something that maybe still affects you to this day, whether it's sports wise, personal wise, whatever it may be.
From So I just say like being able to say, like that I played baseball at the University of Miami. Like that's like, like you said, that it's a super rich program, just like so many big leaguers that have played there, and it's almost like, I remember going to summer ball and being in Stanton, Virginia, and like every time they announced my name, like, oh, now batting Jon Jay from the University of Miami, it was always like, everybody wanted to know, like, hey, what's you? I'm like, hey, what? Oh my God, I can't believe you're there. So like, I think that still happens to this day. To this day, it still happens where, I go to places and they're like, man, what was UM? Like, that's amazing. Like orange and green, the Hurricanes. I love the Hurricanes and stuff like that. So I think that was like, the biggest one from that. And I think also just, it really taught me how to like, time management, like you said, like, from the lows of having to deal with all this stuff and really figuring that out, where it helped me out later on. And I always said, the hardest thing to do with anything is, control your phone, control your schedule, and, do all these things. And that really taught me how to like be on point with stuff, because I had to be effective. And at a young age, I'm 19, 20 years old, understanding like, hey, no, I can't do this. Hey, I have to do this. And it really helped me for, getting to my professional life.
Can I tell you a funny side note? When I was in college, because I obviously had no money whatsoever, I was working at an Applebee's, but I also had a side gig calling baseball games for the team.
That's
right.
Awesome.
So it was on radio and obviously like on speakers and stuff. I called baseball games and I called basketball games. And man, they were always so early and I was always so hungover and I would always fuck up everyone's name. And it was such a fucking train wreck. I remember it to this day. Like I remember calling one game and I'm like sweating hard. And it was like, dude, how did I get myself into this predicament? But it was, that was actually, Nick, that was actually what led us to Fuckin Podcast today. That was my first foray with any kind of like microphone in front of my face.
Yeah. I want to, I think we have a caller.
We have a caller?
Yeah.
No, if Mario's calling, hang up.
Sorry, I think this is happening.
Okay. Can you actually like patch him in?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh man, this is crazy.
You gotta take a drink for this one.
Yeah, you better. No, but I can't hear him.
Hold on. Where is he? Hello?
Hello.
Wow, I can hear Mario in my headphones, and I want to die right now.
Mario, can you hear us right now?
I can hear you guys. Yeah, I can.
Wow, this is
What up,
fucking
Marty?
incredible.
We have past podcast guest, frontman of Problem Kids, and famed shirtless Michelin star rapper Mario Obregón on the line. Also a classmate of Michael Beltrán and Jon Jay. Mario had some things that he wanted to make sure were included in the discussion.
Wow. Go on.
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I don't even know how the fuck this happened, and we're gonna have to discuss if we could do this another time after. But go on. I want to know what you want to add to this podcast.
Just take it easy. Just let it happen, man.
Just
let it happen. Relax.
That sounds creepy.
I know you've heard that before.
Yeah.
I know. I just wanted to ask if you guys have talked about yet when me and Jay were young kids. We were playing one day at Southwest Park baseball, and he hit a fly ball, and he thought it was gonna go over my head. And I turned around, as I did with my speed that I have on the baseball. The speed, as he hit it, he thought it was gonna go over my head, and then all of a sudden I turned into Ken Griffey Jr.,
Right.
the Cuban version.
Uh-huh.
Caught the ball over my shoulder, and Jay cried. I don't know if you guys have talked about that at all, because I know it was big in his trajectory of baseball, his baseball career. I know it was a moment, so I just wanted to know if you guys.
Before
Jay answers the question,
I want to know if at this point in your life you still had hair.
because I don't know if the fact that you were bald at that time
Actually helped your speed.
I was No, I actually had a mushroom cut and I had chest hair, and I was about 10 years old.
Ahead of the game.
I look like Nick looks on Instagram with the chest hair, but at 10 years old.
Wow.
No, that moment changed my life. I think that was a moment where, you know, I learned like there's no crying in baseball. I can't get upset. And if you watch me play after that, I always tried to, you know, keep my calm, cool, and collectedness. And I think Marty till this day was on me with my whole career. Like before every season would start, he'd be like, all right, is this the year you're gonna get thrown out of a game? Are you gonna get thrown out of a game? I need you getting thrown out of a game with an umpire. I'm like, Marty, I'm not gonna argue with the umpires. I'm gonna take take the strikeout even if it's 10 inches off the plate. I'm gonna walk there. But I learned that moment that day.
But why would you want him to get kicked out of a game?
I just wanted to see, I wanted to see him get thrown out, get fired up at the
fire. You wanted to see the fire.
Just to do it, but exactly. But now I want you guys to know one of the main reasons that he took the coaching job with the Marlins is now, boys, is when he's gonna get thrown out of a couple of games. It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle. Now you're gonna see at least 2 or 3 ejections this year. That's the over/under we got. If anybody wants to put a couple wagers in, hit me up.
I mean, the fact that Jay is on first base, the Marlins may actually get me to a game this year.
Let's go.
They may actually get me to a game this year.
And another side note, Marty also helped me with coaches are gonna get on you in your career, when you're playing or whatever. But Marty was on me since 3rd grade on the basketball court because I didn't know what I was doing. I just run around the court, and till this day, he still yells at me on the court.
I mean, the thing is, Mario didn't really know what he was doing on the court either, and he still doesn't. But it's cute that he tells you what you should be doing.
He's a courtside legend.
Exactly.
Courtside legend.
Right.
Yeah. That's infamous. Guys, man, how's the podcast going?
This is great. We could talk. We could
shoot the shit after. We're in the middle of something
very serious right now.
Is Jay giving you answers, or is he doing
We're good, bro. We're good. We're good.
Like the media in baseball.
We're half and half, bro. We're half and half.
The thing is, he's in his first glass of tequila. Let me get him 2 more, and then maybe I'll get him a little sauced up.
Okay, yeah. Get him a little.
Get in there, bro. We're getting there. Relax.
Say some things you've never said before. Hey, I love you guys.
Later, dog.
Blowback freestyle.
All day, baby.
All day. Holy shit. Anyways, thanks, Marty, for calling in and adding to the podcast. You told him to call?
Well, I mean, we have this fucking thing now.
That's because he just wanted to try it.
You've been begging me for call-ins for 2 years.
That's also fair. I have.
Yeah, come on. This was the perfect situation.
It was. Yeah, that was a good trial run. I like that. I'm ready for hard-hitting questions in the middle of live things. I'm ready for that.
College
highlights. We talk about highlights.
Also, so wait. So to go back to the low light. So a big low light in college that stuck with me forever is we're playing at UF, the Florida Gators. Huge rivalry.
Got it.
And I remember a bunch of the guys from school being out there, like Greg LeBest. A couple guys were out there.
Greg LeBest.
Rooting me on out there, Gators. And it was crazy. Talk about highs and lows. I remember we were maybe down a run, 6th inning. I tied up the game with a hit. Cool, whatever. We're down another run in the 9th inning. I tied up the game with another hit. Well, here comes the 11th inning, and it's bases loaded, 2 outs. They're hitting. A lazy fly ball to left field. And here I come in, boop, boop, and just clanker, game over. UF wins. I'm just sitting there wow, I just lost us a game on a fly ball. Can of corn. Easiest fly ball there is. Just lost it right there. So that was one of the toughest moments in my career.
Isn't it crazy how that lives in your mind forever?
Forever.
You'll never let that fly ball drop out of your glove ever again. Ever again.
No, I had thoughts in the big leagues where I'd be out there and that would literally creep in my you're in the zone and that little millisecond is UF fly ball, don't do it, and then all right.
Well, that's why failure sometimes is good.
That's everything.
I mean, failure sometimes is good, and that woof, stuff like that haunts me to this day. Just the stupidest little I got this fuck, and then you lose to the Gators. It's not like you're losing to I don't know, Middle Tennessee State. So you lose to the Gators, and it's fuck, man. And it's all they have in UF is sports.
That's it.
They have nothing else in that town. Just sports.
And I remember it was a day game, so we had some time after like go eat or do whatever. And I remember going out to eat with the boys, and like I just remember like feeling like everyone was just staring at me the whole time, like oh there's that guy that dropped the ball, like that. I just had that feeling. I remember I was like, yeah, I gotta get out of here, because I was just not a happy person at the time. And then we get back to school on Monday, and a teammate of mine, Danny Valencia, that ended up playing the big leagues for a long time. He's talking to everyone in class. And somebody asked him in class, like, hey, I saw you guys, you guys lost that game at UF. They're like, who's the loser that dropped the fly ball on the team? And he just gave me one of these, like, that guy right there. Yeah. I'm just sitting there in class. I'm like, I'll never forget just like waving at the student, like, yeah, that was me. And they didn't know this. They were just like,
yeah,
oh my God, what just happened here?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Highlights, though. Like, what was the number one highlight, sports-wise, from your 4 years there? Because you did break a lot of records when you were there, yeah? You did, how many records did you break when you were there?
No, I don't know how many. I know.
I don't know how many. Do you know what it is that you say? I don't know how many.
No,
records
I don't have records like that. No, it's not like that. The one record I do have is the hit by pitch record, and I take a lot of pride in that. I got hit by pitch the most in the history of the program.
I mean, Andy, what are you doing? Okay. All right. Give me your number one highlight.
Ooh, number one personal highlight, I hit a walk-off grand slam against Long Beach State. And that was when they had on the field there was probably 22 guys that played in the big leagues. I think it was like 22 or 23 guys that played in the big leagues.
Between Long Beach State?
It was in Miami against Long Beach State.
Who the fuck is Long Beach State?
Long Beach State, man. Jared Weaver, Troy Tulowitzki, these guys they were nasty. Really good team.
I've never even heard of that school. That's like an actual school?
That's a baseball school right there.
Ah, it's a baseball school. There it is.
They don't have a football team. That's why you don't know about them.
Yeah, that's true.
So that one, I'd say just like a personal, was my junior year. Our junior year, we lost a bunch of guys to the draft that were in the first round and ended up playing the big leagues, all that. And we had a young team, and just getting to Omaha there to the College World Series was like huge. Because we didn't start off hot, and then we caught fire and just took off, and there was a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes, and that was like one of my proudest moments in college, was that junior year. We're like young team, no expectations, and then we got to the College World Series. It was
Grand Slam sounds like a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, but I'd rather be on ESPN at the World Series.
Yeah, I know, but like a walk-off Grand Slam, like that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was crazy that of all ball, I wasn't a home run hitter. For me to hit a home run and a walk-off, that was like it was.
How many home runs did you have in your whole life?
Oh, my whole life, man, 50 maybe.
In your whole life.
My whole life.
And imagine
I'm like 60. I'll give me a little bit more. Okay. 60.
How many years did you play
in
ball?
A 20-year period.
From being a kid to like all your years in the majors. How many years did you play ball?
5 to 36. So 31.
So 31 years.
31 years.
60 home runs. Your average is 2.25.
2.25 a year. Wasn't my thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have home run hitters and people who get on base.
Yeah, and it goes back to my grandfather. It's funny. The only thing he used to tell me in baseball was like, hey, just try to get 2 hits a game. 2 hits a game. That's it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try to get 2 hits a game. That's all he would say to me. Doesn't matter how you do it, just get 2 hits a game, and you'll be all right.
I mean, the idea worked. It worked. So after senior year, tell me what the whole draft.
Oh, it's crazy.
Because baseball draft is so different than NFL draft. It's just it seems like a foreign idea. And when you get into the business side of professional baseball and the whole thing, tell me about what from the draft process through the first 3 years, 3 years was like.
Yeah, so the draft, well, first it starts before the draft. I had to get an advisor or an agent, an advisor agent. And I remember my mom was like, why are you going to get an advisor agent? I'm like, no, Mom, I have a chance to get drafted this year. This is how, my family was just hands off. Hey, you're going to go to school, you're going to get an education, you're doing well in baseball. And then I had to sit down and explain to them, no, I have a chance to get drafted. I have a chance to go play pro ball. And they're like, you? I'm like, yeah.
You? What do you mean, you?
I'm like, yeah, I have a chance to do this. So I remember at the time my mom was like, no, you're going to finish school. I'm like, Mom, but this is the way it works. You go as a junior, you have leverage, and you get in the system or whatnot. And then I remember telling her, I'm meeting with an advisor. She's like, well, why do you need that? And no, they negotiate contracts and this whole thing. So it was really a learning process and a lot of communication and all this. But so I ended up getting drafted. So it was my junior year I got drafted to the Cardinals, and That's it. So I got drafted, and we were actually still in regionals. So we hadn't gone to the World Series yet. We're still.
So you got drafted while you were in college?
While I was in college.
Wild.
Yeah. So you're still in regionals, and then
What round did you get drafted?
I got drafted in the second round, last pick of the second round.
But there's like an amazing amount of rounds in baseball.
Yeah, it's gotten cut down now, but at that time there was 50 rounds.
50 rounds.
50 rounds. Yeah. 50
I mean,
rounds.
you were drafted in the second round. That's a big fucking deal.
It was cool. It was awesome. It was amazing, and especially
Wild.
So in baseball you have the chance to get drafted out of high school. And I wasn't drafted out of high school. I wasn't really considered to get drafted out of high school. So to go from that to the point that I got to my junior year was like something that like I was incredibly proud of. So, and I guess that's another highlight from.
Fuck yeah,
huge highlight.
Huge
highlight.
No, you're not gonna get drafted in the second round going into your senior or junior year?
That was during my junior year. During my junior year. So yeah. So after we.
So when you play your senior year, you have already been drafted by the Cardinals.
Yes.
Fucking wild.
Well, no, for 2 weeks. This is the draft happens in June, so it's at the end of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the end of the season. So you build up the season, then you get drafted at the end. Yeah, and then you have to kind of make the decision. All right, am I going to go back to school?
Oh, so then you have to like leave early or not?
Do all that though. So
right.
Right. I mean, I knew I was going to go, especially where I got drafted as a junior and all that. So I'll never forget. My agent was like, "Oh, how much time do you want to take off?" Or whatnot. I was like, "Oh, give me like 5 days, 6 days to kind of just like chill," because starting my freshman year, you'd have the season at UM, then you go play summer ball. And I literally would go to summer ball like right after the season and get home like 2 days before the semester would start. And the same thing my sophomore year. Sophomore year, same thing. I left and then I got to play on the USA team, which was unbelievable.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, so I got to travel, and I think for me that was the first time that I was around like the guys that you read about your whole life. Like you're in high school and you're reading about like X player, you're like, wow, this guy, you're 15.
Tell me the one player that you were like, fuck.
Drew Stubbs. I mean, I knew about Drew Stubbs since I was 14 years old. He was the guy that everybody talked about. It was like he went to the University of Texas, like the guy, center fielder, just did it all. So ended up meeting him there, and just, you're playing alongside these guys. So that gave me the confidence of like, man, I'm here with like the dudes, So like that was something that's cool. And it's cool. Drew Stubbs, like we're still really tight to this day. And
that's cool.
And he had a great career too in the big leagues, and we got to hang out a bunch. When we played against each other and whatnot. So I made a lot of really good friendships that summer. But so going back to that, I wouldn't have a break. Like, so I go to USA team, get back 2 days, college starts. So that year I was like, I'll have 5 days off. And they're like, well, the Cardinals say, if you want to go to low A, it was a big deal because I was skipping a couple levels, and I'll get into that now. You got to go in 2 days. Or if not, they're going to send you to rookie ball if you want to wait a week because of number crunching and, roster spots and all that. So I was like, man, all right. So I guess I'll be there in 2 days. So the way baseball works is you get drafted, and then there's levels, right? There was rookie ball, there was low A, high A, double A, triple A, and then obviously the big leagues. So, I got to skip rookie ball and then go straight to low A, which was a big deal at the time or whatnot. So I went there, and I arrived at South Bend, Indiana. After coming from Miami, I'm a Miami kid and all that, whatever. And we get there, and the minor leagues isn't fun. You're staying at not so nice hotels, and there's not food available after the games, and that times we didn't have Uber Eats or DoorDash or anything like that. So
wow, we sound like relics. But go on.
Or like Ubers, like, oh, I want to go eat somewhere, I don't have a car, I'm gonna Uber here. That didn't exist. So like we literally like get after a game and like find out, all right, there's a Waffle House 2 miles down.
Oh, Waffle House.
Take this street, take a corner, take a turn. Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome at 21.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now
I still at 37. I love Waffle House. Yeah. Waffle House is like my favorite.
It was great. But I just can't do that every day now, like I did back then.
No.
So that's it. So we're in South Bend, Indiana. And I'm in pro ball. I'm in pro ball, just thrown into the fire. And then, a lot comes with, coming from Miami. You're a second round draft pick. So, everything is published with us as far as how much money you get and all that. So, you walk in the clubhouse and guys know exactly what you signed for. They know just everything about you on that standpoint. So there's, always that pressure of like, oh, this is a guy that, they gave a bonus to, or, he went to UM or whatnot. So, I go to a brand new team, and it was interesting to say the least.
What was the most interesting about it?
I think that whole thing of like trying to figure out where you're gonna eat, and the hotels and the travel. You're playing a game, you're getting out at 11, 12 o'clock, and then you're going on a 10-hour bus ride through the night to the next city, and then waking up and playing again. So you're just dealing with, and this is the first time where you're playing with guys from all over the world. I had teammates from Venezuela, Dominican. You're playing against guys, that they're telling you a city, and I'm like, man, I've never heard of that city before, and you're getting to learn their culture. So that was really when I like started, really, I'll get to know guys. Hey, where you from? What are your culture? What's your culture like? What how do you do things back home? And I just loved learning about like what different guys did and stuff like that.
In the lower levels of ball, did you get like some hate because you're drafted in the second round, whatever? Did you get like people who hated on you because of that?
For sure. Yeah. They called us the bonus babies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then at that time, I skipped levels, so they're like, oh, this guy signed the second round, then he's skipping levels, like, oh, who's this guy type of thing. And you had guys like anything, guys had been working for a long time to get to that point. That maybe took them 2-3 years after they signed to get to that point. And here I am, I just signed and I'm freshly going to low A. So you kind of always felt that pressure. Then my next year, especially, where I went from low A signing to my first full season going straight to double A. So, double A, triple A, and you're there in the big league. So, usually you'd go to low A the first year. So I'm in double A now. And, there's guys I'm 21, there's guys that are 26, 27, 28 at the time.
Right.
And they're just like, look at this kid here. Just, oh, everything's good. So,
What was the pressure like at that time? Like for you personally?
No pressure. I've never put pressure on myself, to this day. Just
God bless you.
Yeah. Just like,
Jesus Christ.
Like at that point, like the pressure was just like, I think, the way I alleviated pressure was by going to work, work ethic, just like putting my head down, not worrying about like all these results that can happen, but just like worried about like if I dominate today and I dominate the next day and I just keep my head down, like you said, opportunities are going to come, and if you're ready for them, then you'll take advantage of them. So I really that's all I've ever always focused on was like, just take care of this, and just maximizing everything, like truly like knowing like, all right, I put everything into it, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And it wasn't because I didn't cover my bases with that stuff. So.
That's a skill, right? Like to not feel pressure that it cripple you. Like a lot of people like cripple to the pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
So you should be proud of yourself for that, because it's like I've talked to so many people that like the moment is too big for them. Mm-hmm. Even like when the moment isn't big, but it's like supposed to lead you to the next thing. It could be a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So from this point, the next point was double A?
Yeah, double A.
And how was double A?
So double A, adversity. So I slid into the base. It's funny, coincidentally, I slid feet first, caught my arm, and ripped out my labrum. So everything's going good and all that. And I didn't start off that season so hot. I mean, I wasn't hitting the first month of the season or whatnot. It was my first time playing in cold weather. I had no idea that they said the Texas League. I'm like, oh, we're going to Texas League. It's gonna be great. And we showed up. It's snowing the first day, and I was like, well, what's going on here? So just a lot of different changes, and playing baseball in the cold isn't a lot of fun. And that was really my first time doing it, because I was so spoiled being down here in Miami playing at UM. So do that, and then having to deal with injury. That was my first time I really got hurt, where I had to rehab and just kind of like get back on the grind of like, all right, I just got to get myself healthy. So I went back down to Florida. They sent me down to Jupiter to the camp there, and got my shoulder better. And then when my shoulder got better, my left shoulder shut down on me. So then that was just kind of one of those years where like mentally I was like, all right, I can go here, I can go there, but I just had to really bear down and work hard. And that was my first really adversity in pro ball with my injury and all that stuff. So that was a year where like I thank God for that a lot, because if I wouldn't have gotten hurt, I was on the trajectory to really just get called up almost in 2 years if I would have just done my thing. And then that kind of knocked me back and kept me in the minor leagues a little bit longer than I would have wanted to, but it was the best thing for me, where I was able to really just sharpen all my skills and be ready for the opportunity to get called up.
When did you get called up?
I got called up 4 years after that, in 2010, April 26th. So I was in AAA. We were playing in Oklahoma City against the Rangers, and I'll never forget my manager.
How old were you at that point?
I was 25 years old. 25 years old. Yeah, I had just turned 25 in March, so it was April, and I get the call from my manager, and he's like, he's like, hey, you're going up to the big leagues, which I was like, holy cow, like this is crazy. So I'll never forget calling my mom and just like crying, just like we did it, like I'm going up to the big leagues, like this is crazy, calling all the boys, and just it was just one of those moments that like you work so hard for. And just like I said, like I'm a very simple person, so just for me, just to say I played in the big leagues one day, it was like all right, I would never have dreamt this. So to get that call from me, it was one of the most special days,
Is there like a phone call from that day that you remember the most?
I'm calling my mom and my grandparents for sure.
What was their response?
I mean, just so happy, and just like we did this, like all the sacrifice that they made taking me to this park and waking up in the morning. I used to wake up my mom before school at Columbus and like, hey. It wasn't like she put the alarm and got me up. Like I was the one putting the alarm and like, hey mom, I gotta go work out. Let's go do this. And she was great about everything, making sure I got to wherever I needed to get to. So, just really reflecting on all the sacrifice and the people that helped me get to that point. That was really what that day was about, for sure.
So from that point, like, how does that work when they call you up? Like, what's next?
All right, so it called me up, get on a plane, show up. So I showed up in the third inning.
So like they send a plane for you, you just get on a
No,
plane?
I'm
Like,
on a
what
commercial
happens
plane.
here?
Commercial plane.
Okay.
Yeah, get your stuff, get your luggage, get your first flight out. And I remember I landed, I think the game was at 7. I probably landed like at 7:30 or something like that in St. Louis. So I got to the game in the third inning. And, you know, you have Tony La Russa, legendary manager, you know, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, like all these guys. I mean, they're guys. They're Hall of Famers.
They're big guys.
They're big guys.
Big
They're Hall of
guys.
Famers. And like, here I come in here just like, wow, like I really, like I'm here and it's shocking. You know, there's 45,000 people in the stadium. Everyone's wearing all red. It's St. Louis, like you know, one of the biggest baseball towns there are. And I just remember just like going, wow, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe I'm here. Like literally like pinch yourself moment. Like, it was unreal. And then also like at that time, like the Cardinals were, you know, they have such a rich tradition, and like guys would get called up and you kind of get like a weird number, like a 60 or like 63, like non-traditional baseball numbers, because they had so many guys and so many guys retired that all the numbers are taken. And I'll never forget, I showed up and I'm wearing number 15, which is like, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like 15 is my birthday number, a number I had worn in the past, and I was like, wow. And like I grew up loving Jim Edmonds, who wore 15, and he wore 15 for the Cardinals. So I was like, you know, I show up and I see 15. I'm like, man, this couldn't be any sweeter than having this number. Being here in this whole moment, I was like, it was super.
So when you get there in the third inning, you have to like suit up and
Suit up, get ready to go. Just suited up, got ready to go, and I think I went down to the batting cage and maybe took some swings just to get loose, just in case they needed me or whatnot, because I was going to be available to pinch hit. And I'll never forget, there's a situation where the pitcher's spot was going to come up, and they told us, they're like, no, we're not going to pinch hit right now. So I'm like, I'm chilling, hanging out. And then all of a sudden, 3 seconds later, they're like, oh no, actually you are hitting right now. And I'm like, whoa, okay, here we go. Grab my stuff, and there's my first major league at bat.
wow.
Yeah.
That same day.
That same day, right there, thrown in the fire.
Tell me what that was like.
Oh man, that's like crazy. I'll never forget Tim Hudson's pitching, you know, all-star pitcher, won Cy Young's, just an unbelievable pitcher. And, you know, just going out there, they call out your name and, you know, standing ovation, the crowd's going, you know, they really respect their players there. And like, you know, just standing ovation for like my first moment of the big leagues, and, you know, going out there and, you know, quick, you know, 1, 2, 3 strikeouts, back to the dugout.
Still, I mean, it's just like to have a childish correlation with this. Like I love of the game, you know, like and the way they talk about like that moment of like going up, hitting or pitching or whatever. Like I've always loved that movie because of that, and I couldn't imagine what that's like. I couldn't imagine what like. Think about like all the years from like when you started playing.
Like 5 to 25, 26.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 years to get to that point. To, you know, obviously 1, 2, 3 strikeout, but still, it's like
Take it.
It's like it's that whole fucking thing, man. Like 20 years of life, 20 years of work led you to that point. To get there, that is like such an achievement. It's such a fucking like huge.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I can't even like imagine what like, you know, I guess I can kind of imagine what it feels like.
You got
in
it.
a different world,
You got
but
it.
it like
you got it in a different world, but you got it.
But it's like it's fuck, man. It's like it
When you look out to the world, be like, man, I did this shit for a reason. It's got to be such like a fulfilling moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So what was the next day like?
Oh man, the next day is just you know, answering texts.
Yeah, just from Mario. Just from Mario.
Like, where can I come out? Where do I go? What's next? This and that. And no, the biggest, I guess, it is nerve wracking, and this is when it was nerve wracking. Was, you know, you just don't know what's gonna happen, right? There's number crunches. You can get sent out anytime. You know, this is, you know, it's not like the NBA or NFL where, you know, if you make the roster and you're there, you know, you're gonna be all right. Where, you know, somebody's hurt, they come back, then they send you back down to the minor leagues. So, you know, just living that day to day of like, you don't know when you're gonna get sent out. And then
when did that flip for you?
That flipped for me, I guess once I got a real opportunity. I think so. That year I was up for like a month, doing well. Then I got sent out because, you know, at that time you should be playing and developing, right? I'm a young player, so we had just traded for a veteran player, so I got sent out. Which, this is a funny story.
Who was the veteran player?
Randy Wynn.
Okay.
A guy that I always watched and looked up to. I loved Randy Wynn, like super simple player. He was awesome, had a great career. So I remember getting to the field early that day. I wasn't starting, and when I wasn't starting, I had, you had to do double the work to stay ready. So I get to the field early. I forgot who was in town. I think we had like a 4 o'clock game, so I was like, I was gonna get dinner with a buddy on the other team after the game or whatnot. So I'm at the clubhouse. I walk in, I see Randy Wynn sitting there, and I'm like, man, this is cool. We got Randy Wynn, because when they make these moves, a lot of times they aren't announced until the next day or until like game time. So I walk in and I see Tony.
Can we cheers? I just want to cheers.
My bad. Cheers, my man. Cheers. So I see Randy Wynn, and then I see Tony La Russa walk in, and he's all excited. He's got his veteran guy, Randy Wynn, and he looks over and he sees me. He wasn't expecting to see me at that time in the field. He looked over and he's just like, whoa. And he kind of like said hi to Randy Wynn real quick, and he gave me this one right here, and I'm like, oh no, that's not good. I've seen that one before. That means come to the office, this is gonna be a tough conversation. And he told me straight up, he goes, look, you're doing a great job right now, but we got a veteran player, and you're gonna go down to the minor leagues and just get at bats and continue to do better. It was a great conversation, but at the same time, I'm like, man, like this is the big leagues, this is like now I'm getting sent back down, like.
You're also getting sent back down by Tony La Russa.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
crazy.
he's a fucking
legend.
Walking legend. Even at that point, he was a walking legend. How do you, what do you say to okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Inside you're boiling, you're like, yes, sir. And then I'll never forget too, because, like I said, you don't know when you're going to get sent out or not sent out. So the first, 2 weeks I'm living in a hotel. Because I can't get a lease an apartment because then you get sent out. But then once I had, gotten a good groove and things are going well, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to get an apartment. And I'll never forget, I had gotten an apartment, had it all ready to go, and then literally get sent out. I'm like, wow, this is not it. So go behind the scenes, pack up the whole place, pack up my car. And then that day I drove straight to Memphis, which is where our AAA team was. And I remember that was on a Saturday. I drove straight to Memphis. That Sunday, they got me a flight out. And the way AAA works is you're flying in AAA, but it's almost better to drive. So your first flight's at that 6 a.m. flight. You land in Dallas at 8:30, and then from Dallas you connect to Albuquerque. You land at Albuquerque at 1 o'clock, and then game's at 7. So I'm thinking, all right, I just got sent out, on Saturday. Sunday I'm gonna fly in, chill for a day, and then I'll play Monday. I land, I texted my buddy. He's like, hey, you're in the lineup playing right field, leading off. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, what's the rush here? So literally showed up to the ballpark. I'm in the game already, and you got to control emotions, right? You just, you're living the life, you're living your dream, you're in the big leagues, and then next second you're back in AAA and you're like, wow.
Talk about a gut check.
This is a little different.
Fuck.
Very, very, very humbling game. Very humbling game. So that was it. So then I was down for a month, called back up, and then once I did well that year, I finished off well, I told myself, all right, I got a chance to really stick in this league. I said, best case scenario, I'm an everyday player. And it's amazing, but worst case scenario, I know I can be that fourth outfielder that comes off the bench and has a role and will embrace that role and do whatever it takes. So
to make it to the majors and to be able to say you're an everyday player is still a lot.
For sure.
Right? Major League Baseball is this incredible world, first of all, of business, second of all, of worldwide talent. Every third world country plays baseball. Every single one. So the fact that you can say that you're going to be an everyday player in Major League Baseball is fucking wild at that point. And then what the rest of your career kind of led to.
It's fucking crazy, man. It's crazy. So then at that point, you finish off the year well. The year after, you're what, 27?
26.
26.
Yeah, I was 25 that year, 26.
And then what was that like?
Oof, that was that year changed my life forever. We won the World Series. It was crazy.
That was at 26?
Yeah. 26 years old, won the World Series. And then,
so that's what, 11 years ago now?
We just had the 10-year reunion last summer, which was awesome. And then, so that year was crazy because started the year off on the bench, stayed grinding, did my thing. We made a big trade where an opportunity opened up for me to become the center fielder of the team. And
what was the big trade?
Kobe Rasmus for Edwin Jackson, Mark Zipchinski, and Octavio Dotel. So we ended up getting three pitchers for, and then we traded the center fielder at the time.
Perfect. Love that. Love that for us.
It worked out well, and it's weird when stuff like that happens because you truly are brothers with these guys. These are, even though you play the same position or whatever, he was a good friend of mine. We hung out, our wives hung out. It was we were good friends, and that happens, and it's weird. It's like, yeah, he's leaving. I get an opportunity, but like at the same time, it's like, man, we're boys, we're homies, you know. So it's a very weird dynamic when kind of these things happen, and then like I said, you know, the rest is history. We won the World Series, and it was crazy. I was 26 years old, and you know, you have Albert Pujols and Lance Berkman, Rafael Furcal, guys that we grew up, you know, playing MVP the show with and stuff. And I'm sitting here like winning a World Series with Lance Berkman. It's his first one, and Rafael Furcal, that's his first one, and I'm 26, and I'm like sitting here like, wow, this is crazy.
Albert Pujols, what was that like?
Unreal.
He seems like a very like big personality.
Oh man, it was like and like we talk about work ethic. This guy, like, he did not waste a second in his day, and I got to see that from an early age, and it just reaffirmed of like stuff that I was doing, and I took more out of it, and it was more inspired. Where like I was like that guy that was like literally like he'd walk and I'm like following him around, like watching him just do things, and like, you know, he'd go there and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. He's in the cage, or I'm gonna go sit in the corner of the cage and I'm just gonna watch. Or he's going to the weight room, I'm gonna like, even if I have to work out, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and like pretend I'm working out so I can see him and see what he's doing. Because I mean, this guy was the best player in the game of baseball, and I got to share a clubhouse with him and watch him every day. It was unreal.
What was that year like, winning a World Series? Like, obviously, I mean, baseball's what, 162? Man, so many games. Fucking A. So many games. 162 games. What was your record at the end of the regular season?
I can't even. It's bad. I can't even tell you that one.
Producer?
Record,
Sorry,
2011.
what's the question? Listen, there's things.
What was their record at the end of the regular season when they won the World Series?
Got it.
When Jon Jay was 26 years old.
The research department will chime back in a little bit.
What I do know is we were 11 and a half games out of a playoff spot. I think the middle of August.
It's a good month, August, but go on.
So September, you know, 30 games, like we had like, if you look at probabilities and, you know, analytics, it was like 5% chance to make a playoff, and we ended up sneaking into the wild card game and just caught fire and won the World Series. So that's one of those things where like we just came out of nowhere. And I'll never forget, we had a huge team meeting, and Chris Carpenter spoke up and was like, look, we prepared for the season.
The research department's internet is not working.
So
Great.
we're killing it.
Well, you know.
Shout out to Area Hospitality.
Oh, that's awesome. So Chris Carpenter gets us together and is like, look, guys, we're too talented. We've worked way too hard all year. Like, there's a month left. Let's just put our heads down and just go out there and do what we know we're capable of doing, and like change our season right there. Like, got us going. Like, everyone was motivated and just said, we're going to play ball, and we snuck into the playoffs the last day of the season, which was crazy.
The last day of the season.
Last day of the season, snuck into the playoffs.
That's like a true Cinderella story.
Crazy. My whole life's a Cinderella story.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll always refer back to that moment when Webb was like,
If I just had more Jon Jays, we would win more state championships. So like, the Cinderella story is more like in the evolution, but the work ethic was always there to be like where you ended up. You know, like, I mean, that's the goal, right? Like that.
That's the thing. It's like, if you have the work ethic to get there, no matter what you do, more often than not, you'll be all right.
For sure.
You know, like that'll be all right. So get into the playoffs. Who'd you play in the first round?
So we played the Philadelphia Phillies, and I mean, they had a star-studded team. I think they won 100-something games that year. It was ridiculous. So they had, I mean, Ryan Howard and like Raul Ibanez, which was super cool to play against him. Somebody that I grew up, you know, watching here, a Miami legend. Right. And that was it was Game 5. It was Roy Halladay against Chris Carpenter, 1-0 game. And we won it was a leadoff triple by Rafael Furcal. Skip Schumacher, current manager of the Marlins, hits a double, a 1-0 game. That's what we won. And that happened in the first inning.
That happened in the first inning?
First inning.
Woof.
First inning.
Second round?
Played the Milwaukee Brewers. So we won that one in 6. We went back and forth a little bit, but then we kind of, you know, we knew we were going to, you know, get that one. It got kind of out of hand at the end, and we won that one. And then the World Series, we played against the Texas Rangers, which was like the infamous Game 6. We were down to our last strike, our last out, and David Freese came up clutch with a huge triple, tied up the game, and then ended up hitting a huge walk-off homer that game, and then we won Game 7, which was crazy.
Just to internet's back up. So the
St. Louis Cardinals record in 2011 was 90 and 72.
90 and 72. There you go. Yeah.
90 and 70. And you snuck in on the last day of the regular season.
Last day, wild card team.
When did you end up on Sports Illustrated?
It was during the World Series.
I have to say that I probably still have that somewhere in my house.
Love it.
I can almost guarantee I have it somewhere in my house. I'm a fucking hoarder of old things, for sure.
I'm guilty.
And I'm pretty sure I still have that in my house somewhere.
We gotta find that.
Your Sports Illustrated and Pat's Sports Illustrated, I'm pretty sure I still have.
I like that.
I mean, like, when was that? World Series when?
2011.
Yeah, but which game?
That one was from Game 4, I believe, in Texas. Yeah, I'm sliding
Yes.
at home.
That's it. Man, so fucking epic, man.
That shit was like,
I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is like my friend from high school. Like, what the fuck? Like, this shit is nuts. This shit is crazy. And you end up winning the World Series. Tell me what that's like.
Man, that was like I said, it changed my life forever. It's like, I mean, so many great players that played this game that are Hall of Famers didn't get a chance to play in the World Series. And here I am, second year, 26 years old, winning the World Series, like, which is the ultimate goal, the ultimate, like, everything, you know? So it's like, you know, it was just legendary. It was stuff. And then when you look at the roster, like I said, like Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, these guys are like real legends. Like, guys that, like, in 150 years, people are going to know who these guys are. They're not going to know who I am. They're going to know who these guys are.
they may know who you are,
it's
man.
cool.
They may know who you are, bro.
Hey, it's all good.
It's
all good. It's all good.
Give yourself just like a micro of credit. They may know who the
These
fuck
guys
you are.
changed the game. Like, literally changed the game.
Buncombe Podcast lives forever.
There we go, man.
You know what's funny is like, obviously because I have a friend that won a World Series and a friend that won a Super Bowl. Since we want to start, like I've been asked to do like weird talks and shit, and it's like in weird hours of the day, and people are wearing suits and button-up shirts and shit, and I usually show up pretty much like this. And when introduce me, it's that one picture of like me winning a star, and like it's very like, and you know
Everyone's kind of like half asleep and kind of like,
how I always wake them up. I was like, raise your hand if you know what like a World Series is. People raise their hand. Mm-hmm. Raise your hand if you know like what winning the Super Bowl means, and they raise their hand. And I'm like, cool. So I think maybe this is what that feels like. This feeling here, maybe it may feel like that. Because that's what it's like for my industry.
For sure.
And it's like, I don't know if that's what it feels like. I have no idea. But that's kind of like how I get people to understand, like that don't really understand food, but maybe they understand sports. Like, it's a big fucking deal. It's a huge deal. It could change your life forever. It could be something that you've worked towards your entire life. And guys like you that, weren't supposed to be a draft pick, ended up being a second round draft pick. Guys that like Pat was also a second round draft pick. Like things like that, like shit that just like you've been working your whole
life towards.
And here you are, you've made this thing. So like when you won the chip, that first initial feeling, other than euphoria, what was like the first thing you thought about?
Man, I literally was like, this is going to change my life forever. This is going to change my life forever because you're in the history books. Like you said, like yourself, you're in the history books. And that's like, it's a big deal, and it's like, and I do compare it to being the same thing. What you've done is the same thing as winning a World Series and winning, an NBA champion. It's a championship. You've won the championship in your sport, which is food, which is unbelievable. So, like that feeling that comes with that, it's like, it's one of those things that, I don't know, people just look at you differently just because you have this thing and you're like, oh, I'm the same guy. It's just, I just happen to win the World Series, but I'm the same person that you've always been.
I think about it always because like we've known each other since we were like 15 years old. So like I think about it like when we were like 15.
I obviously wasn't cooking when we were 15. You were playing ball
when we were 15. It's like, that was like, I'm sure that was your dream when you were 15, right? Like winning the chip one day, like to feel that feeling, to do that thing. For me, it came later. Like for me, like food became my evolution and became my kind of obsession later in life because I didn't know what I wanted to do. At that time I was playing football. I was a child. I was 5'7", and I had no possibility of ever playing in the pros, but I loved the game. for you, like you live this kid's game and you dedicated your life to it and you achieve something that like, man, 99.9% of the world will never feel. That's amazing.
It's like an incredible moment.
And then not only that, you win the World Series.
In those 7 games, you're
On the cover of Sports Illustrated.
I keep saying it because I love seeing, like, I remember seeing it. I'm like, that's Jon Jay. Like, that's my dog. You know, and I remember, like, obviously Mario that phoned in earlier. You know, we've been friends for such a long time, and I've told him this before. I was like, man, I'll never forget the feeling of seeing, like, my friend on the cover of Sports Illustrated and be like, that is my fucking dog. And, like, feeling this feeling of, like, being super proud.
Because I know how much work it takes. I know how much time it takes. I know how much like effort it takes and how much it takes away from like your personal life. How much people sacrifice in that time to get there. So man, like kudos to you.
Nah, and the feeling's mutual, bro. When, like watching you do your thing, it's been amazing. Like, you know, behind the scenes, us talking, and like I remember when you opened up, coming here with friends from out of town, and like taking a picture and sitting here in this room, you know, having the after charity event, having the after party here, and like, you know, all these little things that had led to this, you know, and then watching you, and then when you did get it, like calling Marty right away, yo, he got it, and, you know, just this whole thing, it's so cool to just, you know, to see. And I think too, when you know, I've seen you behind the scenes, the work you put in and what you've done and to get there, and then that's, you know, that's the stuff that you look at, you're like, wow, it's super, super special, it's super cool.
What was it like the year after?
Honestly, our leadership in St. Louis and the organization, the way it was, and like the group of guys that like I hung out with and like worked with, like it was almost like we won the World Series.
But like, it's done. Like, we gotta go do another one. Like, the expectations here, and like we did it once. All right, cool. Like,
it was so cool to like how guys just wouldn't talk about it. It was like we didn't talk about it. It's like, yo, that's in the past. Like, we're here now. Like, it's 2012. Like, we gotta go do it again. And that was something that like I learned at an early age there. That was like, it was so cool to see. Where like, you know, as a young player, you're like, yeah, we won the World Series, but like it's like you never heard any of the older guys say like, oh yeah, remember when the, you know, the World Series? Like, it's like, nah, hey,
today's this, and we gotta get to this point now. So
it was weird, and like,
point where like we didn't talk about it, and like,
you know, we didn't like it. Maybe we used it as like, hey, remember we were down 2 outs, we could have lost, and like, but we pulled together. Like, so they would take these, you know, teaching moments and these examples to use, but it was never like that. Sit back and like, oh yeah, we won the World Series
last year. It was just, you know, back at it, and keep grinding. And I think that's kind of how baseball is, right? You have to show up every single day. It's 162 games.
Right?
That's fucking
same thing in your
crazy.
industry, right? Like, you know, you could do well for 2 months, cool. But like, I want longevity. I want to kill it for a long time.
Oh man, consistency is key.
Is key.
That's everything in life.
You got to do it.
I think we're open like 360 days in this place. So like, you know, like it's got to be like every single day. And it's true. It's like but I think that's
It's so much to the point of like leadership. It's like when you have to do it so often, the leadership needs to be so strong because it needs to guide the people to understand like consistency is key. It's not being great one day.
It's about being great every day. And how do you build yourself to be great every day? How do you build your, you know, like it takes a lot of fucking stamina to do that shit every single day. It takes a lot of like mental fortitude to do it every single day. And I mean, you played in the league for what? You told me 11 years,
Yeah.
12 years.
11 years, 12, like 12 seasons, 11 years.
I mean, 12 years is a long time.
No.
It's a long time. I mean, to be able to be as consistent as you were and to be a pro as long as you were, that takes a lot of consistency, a lot of work ethic. What was it like so that was like, what, the first 4 years of your career?
St. Louis?
Yeah.
I was there
Well,
for...
and not St. Louis, but just like from
Yeah,
the minors to the whole thing to winning a World Series to like the bookend of like the 2 years after winning the World Series. Like that's like what, the first 4 or 5?
Yeah, 5. Yeah, so signed 2006, so that's 2011, 12, and then it was crazy. Then in 2013, we went to another World Series, which was unreal.
which is like, you know, it was like one of those times where like, wow, this is crazy.
So that team with the Cardinals, we went on a 5-year run where we went to the playoffs every year, which was unbelievable. And, you know, we were always, you know, a couple games out of the World Series.
If we won the World Series.
Isn't it crazy? Like that year you win the series, you sneak in on the last day, and then you make it to the playoffs 5 years in a row. I mean, that's fucking wild. It just shows that like the team just had a lot of like rich culture.
Culture is everything, you know, and I think that's the, like we talk about, like the places that are successful that have a good culture. There's no way around it, you know. Leadership and culture.
What year was it that you went back
To
to the World Series?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Man, we had an unbelievable team. We went back to the World Series, and it's funny, like we talk about 2011, we kind of snuck in there and nobody thought anything, and we won the team. We won the World Series, and then 2013, we had high expectations, kind of, and didn't do what we were supposed to do. You know, it was one of those weird ones where we're like, man, we had it, we could have won. And
You know, a gentleman by the name of Big Papi, David Ortiz, just decided to go absolutely off. And really just, I mean, it was unbelievable. One of the most unreal performances I've seen. I mean, I don't know what the stat line, he hit like 4 homers, and like, it was just unbelievable what he did. Like, literally one-man show and just took over the whole series.
I mean, he's a legend.
Absolute legend.
I mean, that team was a legend, though. Like, I mean, that team was full of legends.
Didn't they beat their curse that year?
No, that was in 2004.
2004.
The Red Sox.
Right, but who did they play against in 2004?
That's when they swept the Yankees.
Right.
And that's when they were down 3-0 against the Yankees, and they came back and beat the Yankees.
Fuck, how long did he play in the league?
For a long time.
For a long time.
Long time.
Right, so it was back in 2012, 13. Man. I mean, like, I feel like David Ortiz,
Like a part of like my entire childhood.
For sure.
And like,
you know,
not just childhood. I mean, we're talking about like
mid-20s to like, that's pretty fucking wild. But you also played against David Ortiz. It's fucking wild, right? Like, you played against a guy like David Ortiz. I think that it's like, not only like your career,
like what you achieved, but like the people you played against and the people that you just like were in the same kind of like universe with is like pretty impactful.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that's one of the toughest things in the beginning, right? Where you're playing with and against guys that you idolize your whole life, right? It's like, you know, you watch these guys pitch, like, wow, this guy's such a good pitcher.
You know, you watch him at 18, 19, and then next thing you're facing this guy now. And you're thinking like, man, I used to watch him do, you know, whatever it was. And
you know, Big Papi is like, I've seen this guy play on TV since 2004, you know, when
Right.
like watching, and then you're standing out there in the field and you're like, you're on first base and you're like, what's up, man? It's like, it's Big Papi.
and you're just hanging out. So like, I think that's one of the like coolest, but it's like, you got, you know, you learn to check yourself. Like, hey, I'm all here. I'm trying to beat you right now. You're a legend, but you know, here I am to, you know, I'm trying to get this win too. So
Everyone puts their pants on the same way.
That's it.
That's the same shit.
That's
that
it.
Like I've been saying that shit forever. Like every time we entertain like a
big time chef or whatever, I'm like, you know, we all do this shit the same way. You know, we all wake up the same way, we put shoes on the same way. It's like, fuck it. You know, if like our food is our food, and you know,
they're obviously legends at what they do, but I think we're pretty good at what we do too.
That's it.
Tail end of the career. What was it like?
Yeah, so for me, you know, so I left St. Louis in 2015. I got traded to the San Diego Padres. And I think the craziest thing for me is in 2016, our twin daughters were born.
So they're 6 years old now. And, you know, so we spent the first 6 years of my career in St. Louis where, you know,
It was just myself and my wife. And then now we have twin daughters, right? So, you know, in baseball, you know, luckily when I lived in Miami, spring training was in Jupiter. So I'll just drive up the street and then we moved to St. Louis after that. So I think that's when we really started getting into, you know, your spring training's in Arizona. So,
you know, we're flying to Arizona with the kids, setting up shop there for a month and a half, you know.
they're 2 months old at the time, and then moved from there to Chicago. And then like it just started this whole whirlwind of, you know, I ended up playing, you know, on the Cubs, White Sox, Diamondbacks, Angels. I'm missing one.
Anyway, so I ended up moving, you know, we moved for 6 years with twin girls, you know, like 30 times or something like that, you know. So it's like, it was just a lot of crazy. And, you know, on the baseball side, you know, it was cool, you know, going to different teams, you know, you get to meet different guys, but you got to get, you know, comfortable in different, you know, surroundings and whatnot. So,
you know, I think at the end it was, you know, it was just, it was crazy looking back now of like how much, you know, on the go I was, and, you know, but it was the best thing for me. You know, I got to meet so many different guys, play in so many different cities, get to know, you know, get so many cool experiences. So, but that's kind of the tail end was just, that's what I remember, just, you know, bouncing around everywhere and just being in a bunch of different places.
So, what was the final year?
2021.
2021. Oh, that was like super recent. We're talking about a year and a half away. How did that feel?
It's weird. It's kind of bittersweet at the end, you know, where it's like something you've done your whole life, you put everything into, and
You know, I used to always ask guys like, "Hey, when, like, how did you know, it's time to retire, or when did you know, and he's like, "Look, you'll know when your time comes. You'll just know." And then, for
it just hit that point where I was like, I just wasn't happy, playing baseball anymore. To that point,
a lot of different things happen. There's business. There's all these different things that happen. And for me, it was like, all right, it's time for me to come home and be with my family. And
it was one of those, the day I did, I'll never forget, it was like the morning, I just got a flight, and I
didn't even tell my wife. I just showed up at the house. I was like, hey, honey, I'm home. I'm retired. I'm done. And she's like, what's going on here? So, but it was a great feeling of just knowing that, first of all, reflecting on my career and just, like we said, it was like so surreal to do all the things I got to do and accomplish so many things. And
then I was like, all right, I'm home, and, let's move on to the next chapter.
How fast did those 11 years feel?
It feels like yesterday.
But it's crazy because we talk about winning a World Series, going back to a World Series, then getting traded through a couple of teams, and then just saying okay, I'm done. Those 11 years, they must have felt like a flash. Just incredibly fast. That felt like yesterday. Like Tony La Russa sending me back to the minors, must have felt like yesterday at that point.
For sure.
And then saying all right, we're done here.
And honestly, and the way I am and just the way baseball is, it's like you got to grind every single day. So, when you're going through it, and that's what I kind of talked about with the World Series, you can't sit back and think about these things.
Because you get punched in the mouth, and then next guy up, and next thing you know, you're like, wow, focused or thinking about this. So, I really wouldn't think about things, and I really wouldn't talk about things. I'd have a good game or whatnot. It's human nature. You guys are going to fire you up. Oh, you went 3 for 4. And I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. And
tune it out. So at the end of my career, I really got to reflect on all these things, and then you're like, wow, this time just flew by because you have your head down so much. And we talk about it's about the journey, and it's not about the destination. Because you get to that point, you get your star, and then you're like, all right, cool. I'm the same dude. It feels good, but I want to keep doing more. What's the next thing? And so it's funny, like you said, you win the World Series, and you get there, and all right, cool. No, I want to win another one. And the same. That was kind of my whole career, where you wouldn't sit back
and reflect and really sit down and
For the last 2 years, and I still get real emotional thinking about things because little stories come up, or you remember little things, or
we sit down and yeah, I remember how much that means to you. Man, that's cool because at that time you can't sit down and really think about that. You don't think about I wonder how many people saw it. I didn't think, I wonder how many people saw the Sports Illustrated and who, whatever. You're no, I gotta keep it going. But
I'm almost positive I still have it. I gotta tell you, I'm 99% positive I still have it. I am a hoarder. So I have a bunch of shit, and
I will say you don't have to be a hoarder. That's a thing worth keeping.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I have dude, the other day I was I found news articles. I actually just super off subject, but I was going through a big purge day. I had to purge a bunch of things.
And I found, and I've said this story a couple of times, I'm pretty sure, but in the evolution of area, when I was in between jobs and I lived in the shack, I built Ariette's menu through Post-its, and I had this one wall that led to my kitchen that was just 90 Post-its. And I found them all the other day.
Sick.
I found all the Post-its in this fucking envelope, just crushed up. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was about to throw it away, and I opened it. I'm like, holy shit. It's all these fucking Post-its from 7.5 years ago. And there's still 2 menu items on those Post-its that are still on our menu. And I'm like,
items.
Fuck. Huh?
Yeah, from the Post-its that still survived.
They're survivors. And I'm like, fuck, man, that's fucking crazy. And it's that's why I consider
myself a hoarder, and I'm okay with it.
I just want to throw out there, I don't need to jump in now, but before we move past the major league and baseball career years, I have some questions that I want to throw in that section.
You have questions?
Yeah.
I love that.
I can jump in now.
No, go on.
Okay. No. I just don't want to interrupt the thought, but I wanted to get there before we move on to...
Are they your questions or Marty's questions?
No, these are mine. No, Marty's involvement.
Thank God. Fuck.
So, in no particular order, talk a little bit about how you were eating. not just in terms of nutrition as a professional athlete, but also like being so young and then, you know, coming into this world where like you said, you won a World Series at 26 years old. So even like your off time, eating to celebrate has to look different. And like the stuff that you're doing, even outside of food, looks different from like a lot of the people that you went to high school with.
For sure.
So like talk a little bit about that, about not just like what your routines are and then those like sort of special moments. Maybe there was like a meal or a moment that you were like, oh shit, this is a special, like like you said, I'm in like that, like 99% of the people in the world are not doing this thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. So
I mean, one of the perks of playing in the big leagues is, you know, you get access to, you know, a lot of things that, you know, I wasn't really used to, you know, as a young kid or whatnot. But,
you know, landing in the city, and, you know, I remember in Chicago, there's a general manager that was from St. Louis.
So, you know, every time we landed there, you know, they'd hit us up and just be like, hey, come through or whatnot. And, you know, you're sitting at dinner and you're getting, you know, the seafood towers and, you know, all these different things that are coming out. And it's just surreal, you know, like, you know, having my friends, you know, in town. And I'll never forget, we were in St. Louis, and, you know, we'd go to a restaurant and, you know, the chef would come out or you know, the GM would come and greet us. And I remember my buddy was like, hey, do we only go to restaurants where we know the chef and we know the owner? I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, this is all new to me. Like, I'm
kind of along for the ride.
We're just along for the ride, and it's unbelievable. I'm like, we'll take it, but like, you know, we're gonna hit with stride. But, you know, so those were some of the things that were like, you know, we got to do that. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And then, you know, win the World Series, you know, like, you know, people know you, you know, you're visible.
And in St. Louis, which is like a baseball
St.
town.
Louis is a baseball town. Like, everybody eats, sleeps baseball.
That's what I went to school in Mizzou, so
Alright,
I went with a lot of St. Louis people, and even Mizzou, 2.5 or so hours away. When I was there, like any time that the Cardinals were in the playoffs, my whole apartment complex was going fucking bananas.
Oh, bananas, for sure. Yeah, St. Louis is. I mean, I remember my buddies that come to a game and they're like, man, everybody wears red here. Like, everyone's wearing a St. Louis Cardinals hat. Like, I've never seen that before. And like, so it was cool, and it was always awesome to like get to hear their perspective on things, because like,
You know, we started getting to do things, you know, instead of going to Outback, now we're at, you know, like Mastro's, and like, you know, like we're doing things where like, it was, you know, we're going to all these cities, and like, you know, we're hanging out at places, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, you know.
Did you have a favorite city to like be in with some downtime?
The big cities.
But of the big ones.
No, I loved, honestly, Chicago was unbelievable. You know, we got to play a lot of day games there, so we got to explore and go to dinner after. We go to dinner and like, you know, go to dinner and hang out a little bit. It was awesome. Chicago was my spot, and LA was always the trip that, you know, I always looked forward to too.
So I don't want to take, I'm going to move on to another question. I'm going to hard shift here. All right. So 2 related questions. Number 1, you played for the Swing of the Quad Cities. That was your pro debut, right? During a short window, 04 to 07, where they were not the Quad City River Bandits, would you rather have been a River Bandit than whatever a Swing of the Quad Cities is?
I would have definitely rather been a Riverbank. The Quad City uniforms were horrible.
It was like a saxophone versus a raccoon. You could have had a raccoon.
It was like a burnt orange saxophone with like baby blue, and like the uniforms in the
I want that one signed.
It was bad.
I want that one signed.
The saxophone, the baby blue
I want the
saxophone.
baby
Bad.
blue
It was bad.
saxophone
It was bad. It was
signed.
bad. It was really bad.
Okay, so we'll I'm gonna track down some
let's track
Swing of
down.
the Quad Cities jerseys, and we'll figure out. We'll do like a little charity auction. Related question. With no regard for the baseball itself. So not Pancom Podcast, but DADE Blind Tasting had a couple of episodes sponsored by a baseball related company, and it wasn't the only place I'd ever heard this from, but that was the most recent place. The idea of like look good, play good, right?
For sure.
What team's uniforms made you feel most like look good, play good? Like you have to wear something. What did you feel best in?
My favorite uni I ever put on was a powder blue. I think it's from the 1985 St. Louis Cardinals. They're ridiculous. Like I remember, like they wear it a lot more now. I think they wear it like every Saturday. I forgot what they wear now, but back then, like I only got to wear those like twice my whole time in St. Louis, and like I'll never forget like looking in the mirror and be like, man, I look good right now. Like this is.
Let
good.
me ask you though, like for opposing teams, what were the uniforms that you were like
intimidated by it?
That shit is dope.
I mean, it's the big leagues. They're all some nice uniforms, but
I know, but like like the Yankees uniforms are the Yankees uniforms. They're super plain, but like it's still the Yankee uniform.
yeah. No, the Yankees is nice. I'm trying to think.
I still think the old Marlins uniforms are the way.
Teal, baby.
Yeah, the old Marlins uniforms are the way, man. Yeah. Like those things.
White with pinstripes.
Yeah, those things were so dope. Give me Jeff Conine all day in that white with fucking pinstripes, man. That shit was sick.
I'm trying to think of jerseys on the other team though.
Including minor league, by the way. Like, and I would also my last question, which we can transition to this, was if you were recommending to somebody like, because like a lot of minor league shit is super quirky from a like, if you can only go to one minor league game, what team should you go see? Like, what experience should you have in mind?
Before he answers, because he's going to have a much more educated answer than me.
Yeah.
When I was in college, two of my roommates, Pierce Steinruck and Joey Greer,
great dudes. They like I was actually roommates with 2 baseball players and it was 2 football players, which is very out of the norm. But they were fucking amazing. These dudes were like, they're my brothers to this day. I love them. And they were Red Sox fans. Hardcore Red Sox fans. So Curt Schilling got hurt going down to the minors, whatever, and then he played like a AAA game.
Paul took it.
Maybe. I don't remember. But all I remember was going to the game, watching Curt Schilling pitch 1 inning, right? And then getting super fucked up and then going to, what's this place? Jack in the Box. Right after, like, we were super fucked up.
we smoked a joint, and then we went through like the drive-through at Jack in the Box like 4 times.
But like,
Wait, like you were doing laps at Jack?
Yeah,
Or you just kept ordering every time you went
No, we
around?
did laps. We ordered, and they were like, "We're still hungry. We're gonna go back."
Okay, so you weren't just like you would order and then you would go around and order.
And we
again.
would eat, and then we would go back, and then we would eat again, and then we would go back, and we would eat again. I think it was 3, but I'm Cuban, so I exaggerate. So like maybe
more
it was
than
4.
2. Anything above 2 is 2.
It was more. It was more than 2. It was definitely more than 2. Paul took it what?
Paul Tucker.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island.
no,
Massachusetts.
no, it was in North Carolina.
Okay. So also, is that Durham?
Yeah,
Durham Bulls, the big wall in left field.
yeah, Durham Bulls. Yeah, I mean it was like an hour and a half ride for us. So like we were in Danville, Virginia. So that checks out.
There's a team in Danville, Virginia.
No,
The
not
Braves?
not a minor league
The
team.
Braves have something there now, I think.
Maybe now,
Yeah, no.
not when I was there.
All right.
There's absolutely nothing in.
Danville, Virginia. Like absolutely fucking nothing there. It's a fucking wasteland.
Alcohol sales stopped at 10 there?
no. I mean those went on. Yeah, I mean it was. That place was interesting.
I played in State Virginia.
I don't know what an Otterbot is, but this is the Danville Otterbots.
No, but that wasn't there when I was there. That was not there when I was there.
The research department is trying to find out the history of the Otterbots.
Anyways, so you retire from the game. I'm sure that's like there's a lot of emotions with that. You retire, like you've left this game that you've known since you were a child. What was that feeling like?
The idea of like what's next.
Yeah, it's scary, you know. But I think I started preparing for that before, I retired. So I kind of always would kind of think of like things I wanted to do or whatnot. But I was always into like marketing and like meeting people, and so
Just like a typical road trip, especially later in my career, right? Where let's say I'm in LA and I knew I wasn't playing that day. I could, wake up in the morning, get breakfast,
and then I go go see some of the guys I knew. Big guy for me is a dude named D. Murphy that's built a bunch of companies and done just a bunch of stuff in the business world, entrepreneur. So I go sit in his office for a couple of hours and just listen to meetings and just kind of hang out with him and stuff like that. So I was always trying to like expose myself to things or whatnot. And then I think it was in 2020, I got a notebook down and I kind of just wrote down like through the help of a good buddy, Ahmed Darwin. He was like, all right, write down like your core, your interests, and then like your family, your network of that. He's like, your core is going to be like, baseball's my core, obviously. That's what I've done my whole life. And then within my core, like what can I do within my core? So, you know, in baseball, it was like, you know, I could join a front office, I could coach, I could do announcing, I could do. So I literally went through this exercise where I wrote down all this stuff, and then like
Trying to understand like what I would actually want to do within that, and then like what are my interests? Like, you know, I'm into sneakers, I'm into, you know, I like
streetwear, I like
all these different things. Like, so I wrote down all
things, and then like, you know, what my networks are in these different areas. So like, you know, for like hospitality, like I got your name written under this thing, and like I have just a list of all these different things of interest that I like to do. And then I always said, you know, I left school as a junior, so I was like, I'm gonna get my degree. I'm not gonna actively pursue anything for right now. I'm just gonna enjoy the family, get my degree, and then, you know, take things as they come. And, you know, lucky enough, you know, little by little, you know, things would come my way. But the biggest thing for me was I always knew like I had that segue of like, all right, I'm gonna go back to school, so that'll keep me busy and kind of give me that period of like figuring out what's next.
How many years has it been since you retired?
2021. So like a year and a half. I came home that summer. Yeah, 2 years.
And like now, 2023, what's the trajectory now?
Well, I mean, so like the last year I've been back at UM. So I was on campus taking classes.
How
like,
weird was that?
It was awesome.
Was it awesome?
Best time.
Was it?
Best time. Best time.
I will say he looks younger than anybody in the room right
I
now.
like that.
I look pretty young.
Get the fuck out of here, Doug. Come on. You and me, estamos jodidos. This
Yeah,
guy,
I know. I mean, Jay does look younger than both of us. That's
So
for
yeah, I
sure.
was back in school, man. I was back in school, which was amazing. It was awesome. It was like, you know, I was on campus, skating through campus, just hanging out like a college kid, you know, like
Just literally skating through campus?
literally
skating through campus.
skating through
Wow.
campus.
With twins.
See, this guy, I mean, he's
whole
even
thing.
skating. He's even skating around.
Man,
Yeah, so it was
we
cool.
fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I got an electric skateboard. I don't know about you.
You don't ride that thing anymore.
I do sometimes, yeah. I go do groceries on it.
Let's go. We gotta go for a
You
ride.
crashed.
Relax. I'm on an electric skateboard.
I got an
right?
electric skateboard too. I'm
All right,
ready to
fine.
go.
All right.
No, I don't.
How the hell you do, though? I got less mileage than you do. I'll ride my car next to you guys.
Cadillacs and skateboard.
Cadillacs and skateboards all day.
Patineta Kings.
That's awesome. So I've been back in school, pursuing to finish my degree. I had 10 classes left.
So I have one class left that I'm gonna take on the spring online. So yeah, so in the meantime, I was going back to school or whatnot, and then you know, I got the big call where Skip Schumacher was named the manager of the Miami Marlins, and you know, he gave me a call and you know, said, you know, there might be an opportunity to join the staff, and you know, if I want to take an interview with the front office or whatnot. So that's where I'm at now. So I accepted a job as a coach with the Marlins, the hometown team.
Hometown, baby. Bring the chip home. God. Man, you know, like, I remember one of the best memories I ever have as a human was when I was in college. And my grandfather calls me when the Marlins reached the World Series. What's the young cat's name? The white kid? Josh Johnson?
Josh Beckett.
Josh Beckett. This kid's like fucking pitching heat, man. And fucking grandfather calls me. He's like, "Are you watching this? Are you watching?" And you know, like the Marlins had us in what, 96, right?
97.
97, 03, 04.
03.
And like, just it's been 20 years since then, and it's like, man, I really feel like if they can get it back together, like the city would absolutely get behind them 100%. Because like the culture is there. Obviously, the culture of baseball is here. So it's like,
Man, I really hope that for the city. I hope that for everyone. I hope that for so many people that like love the sport of baseball as much as like my grandfather loves it. You know, even at fucking 93 years old, that guy, all he does, he wakes up, he watches reruns of baseball all day. Fucking 10 hours a day of reruns of baseball. It's all he watches. It's fucking crazy. In the restaurant upstairs, there's a picture of him in the minors in Cuba just playing baseball. Like, it's fucking wild. If they bring that back, man, it would be epic for the city.
Yeah. Now I'm looking forward to being part of that, and you know, that's my next mission right now. Is you know,
How does that even work? Like, how do you go from being a player for so long, then to a coach?
Yeah, well, I think for me, you know, it was kind of always in my blood, you know, where, you know,
I really liked, you know, coaching. Like,
I mean, you're a tactician. Is that a word?
That's a word.
Okay, got it.
That is a word.
you are
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so for me, like, it was something that, like, I think it goes back to Columbus, you know, like, where I'd always just try to, like, help or, like, you know, like, I think from an early age, I understood what it takes to win, right, where it takes everybody. It's not about one person, right? Like, we talk about, like, if...
You know, you could be the best chef in the world, but if, like, everything isn't executed the way it's going to be, then, you know, the restaurant is going to be what it's going to be. So I feel like I learned that at a young age, and then I just continued building that, and it was almost like I said, like one of the things I wrote down was like, you know I can coach. I know it's going to be a possibility for me, but it's going to be the matter of like if it makes sense for my family and I. And I mean, what makes more sense than to coach here in Miami where I don't have to move. I'm from here, and I'm just, like you said, I'm so excited to, you know, bring Miami, you know, what it deserves in the baseball sense with the culture and all that stuff. So I'm happy to be part of this, and I'm really looking forward to this next challenge in my career.
Oh man, that's such like a articulate and put together answer. I need to go to the bathroom, but like,
Awesome.
I want to go into more of that.
So I had a question that I wanted you to be around for, but go to the bathroom and I'll ask. I'm assuming growing up in a Cuban family in Miami, grew up speaking some Spanish.
For sure.
So obviously a lot of Latin American players, a lot of people who don't speak Spanish. Did you ever find yourself kind of like it or not, being pulled into the translator?
Always.
Every day of my
Talk
life.
a little bit
About that, like, are there good like trends? Because like obviously very different, but like I
was, just because I was one of those people that like I would get punished for speaking English at home because my parents knew like if we let this kid speak English at home, then yeah, it's over once it gets to school, right?
sure.
So like in kindergarten, I was playing a little bit of translator. You have an early 20s, you know, version of that. So talk a little bit about like what that dynamic was, where you end up kind of being like a cultural bridge in
For sure. Yeah.
So from day one, the day I signed, you know,
And, you know, now I got teammates from Venezuela, Dominican, and, you know, guys don't know English. So right away they're like, oh, Jay, you know Spanish? And so I'm thrown into a role of like translating, or a coach wants to get a message across to a player, and I'm kind of in the middle. And then for me, it was kind of weird where, you know, down here in Miami, you know, we're Latin, we're Cuban. You know, I was born here, but you know, we have that sense of, you know, like, no, we're Cuban, we're Latin. But then I go to pro ball, and like the Latin guys that are born Dominican, they're no, you're tú eres Americano, you're American.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, what's going on? But then the guys that are American born here, you know, from, you know, other parts of the country, they're like, no, you're Latin. So I've always been in the middle of the whole thing, and you know, so I was always thrown in the translator role, and I would always kind of like, you know, making sure everything was smooth between everybody. I was always that middleman.
Were you ever like in a heated situation that a translator was needed, like a Spanish speaker and an English speaker were having an argument?
No arguments, really. I got lucky with no arguments for sure. But at the same time, too, I was kind of that guy that would like kind of have to explain like different cultures, you know, like that's all it is, right?
Okay.
We're all different. We're all,
Like what kind of things needed explanation?
I don't understand.
just anything, like, you know, guys wouldn't understand.
Where like, you know, things would happen where like I just kind of had to explain like, you know, cultural things where like, you know, guys would be doing different things, and they wouldn't understand what was going on.
Okay.
And now the return of Michael Beltrán from the bathroom break. If you'd like to sponsor our bathroom breaks, it's ads at DADE Mag.
Yeah, but I'll say something else on that too.
Go for it.
But then, you know, and speaking Spanish has been one of the biggest strengths for me, where, you know, it's really helped me out a lot, where, you know, even these opportunities I'm getting now as a coach, where I'm able to really communicate with the Latin players, the American players, I can communicate with everybody. So it's something that's, it's a huge advantage for me.
So the question that we asked while Michael Beltrán was doing BB was
about Jon Jay's being a bilingual Miami guy, and whether that ended up pulling him into the translator role sometimes.
Did it?
On teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, you missed this whole thing.
Sure. And I think the funniest part with that,
That is right. My name, Jon Jay. It's like, you guys are like, you know, so I show up to the clubhouse, and like,
you're also Jon Jay.
Jon Jay, that's it. So I talk Spanish to guys, and they're like, whoa, you know Spanish? Like, what's going on here? I thought you were, you know, and then like the American guys like, oh, you know, and so I'd always
guys, and
even in the big leagues, I get the short stuff.
stop sometimes, and you know, there's one time a Dominican shortstop, he's like, man, I had no idea you were Spanish. Like, what? Like, because I said, hey, what's going on in Spanish?
Yeah.
And they looked at me like, what? Like, you know Spanish? I had no idea you knew Spanish. So it still happens to this day.
What is the story actually with your last name?
So Jay, I think it's pretty much it's French, and then we migrated in the 1800s or 1700s or whatnot. But in Spanish it's just hi. It's hi. But I was
so your family, the older people would say hi.
Hi, yeah, señor hi, señora hi, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's funny
blowing
because
my mind right now.
it's funny
My mind
because
is blown.
yeah, as a kid growing up here, everybody, when we grew up in the 90s, everyone was Cuban American. I mean, it was just everybody was for the most part.
Yeah.
And it was almost like kids would tell me in school, like, yo, you're not Cuban, your name's Jonathan Henry J. I'm like, I'm Cuban, my grandparents are, from my...
Danzas in Santiago, like both sides. They're like, oh, once, and I know both sides. And I used to tell my parents at that time when I was young, I was like, hey, when I'm 18, I'm changing my name. I'm like, I want a more Latin name than my name is, So it was just...
Did you have an idea what you wanted the name to be?
No, I had no idea.
You remember Marlins kid? The kid that like lifted his shirt and
Yeah.
That's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I forget my name is...
The kid that lifted his...
Yeah, there was this kid who became like internet famous.
Oh, because of the whole like...
Yeah, and that was his
That thing
name
like
was Jonathan.
Was it Jonathan?
It was Jonathan, and he went on. He
Jonathan.
went on. I forget the name of the show, but the host's name is
Carlucho.
Like Carluba.
On Mega TV or something.
Like Carluba.
Like Carluba, but this was Carlucho. And Jonathan, Marlins kid, went on Carlucho's show, and they had the backup dancers go with like their skimpy outfits, and this kid's like, I don't know, 9 years old, and they're dancing around it, and they had a song ready for him, and it went, Mira como baila Jonathan, baila, baila. And he's so
Yeah, it's funny. I
I forget my name's Jonathan sometimes. I'm like, wow, my...
I just know you as Jay.
Jay. It's funny, when I meet people, I don't even know what to say. Like, someone will be like, oh, this is John. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, Jay? And I'm like, it's always like off.
what do people call you in baseball? Like your teammates?
Jay.
Yeah, that's how you would introduce yourself. You
Jay.
tell
I
people
just
call
say
me
Jay.
Jay.
Jay, John, 2 J's. I don't know.
2 J's.
Oh, 2 J's? That happened?
Like 2 chains.
Oh,
2
John
J's.
2 chains, like 2 J's. I like that.
So the question that I wanted to get into that I thought would be good for the two of you to play off each other a little bit, and I think from like maybe I'm wrong, because maybe as a player you found yourself at some point like in like a mentor kind of role to younger guys, but talk a little bit about what it is about you that you think, like, because you mentioned that like it's in your DNA that you're drawn to that role, like what it is about you that that you think makes you a good fit for that kind of coaching role. And what are you in baseball? Like maybe it's not particular to baseball, but what do you see in young guys that
you identify as like, okay, this person is especially coachable? Like what does your radar function look like? And then I won't ask a question to him, but I'm sure that he'll say things that I'm sure you can play off of with young people, on your teams in the restaurants, because I'm sure there's a lot of overlap.
For sure.
He's making a face like there might not be.
No, I mean, yeah.
No, it is. It's
It is.
It's like
It's like the clubhouse. You gotta keep the clubhouse in order.
I mean,
The locker room.
listen, if work ethic is there, work ethic is there. Period. I mean, you can have the most talent in the world, but if you don't want to be coached, then there's not much that someone can do for you.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's, like you said, like work ethic is great, right? But then the combination of being able to be coached is, I mean, now you're a rock star, right? Because you have the work ethic, but now you can take like, hey, this is what I experienced,
take this and you can do that. And those are the guys, and those are the kids that you really look for, where like they got great work ethic, and then you're like, all right, I can take my experience and really like take it to the next level. And it happens a lot faster than what they think is gonna happen, because you have that knowledge, you have that experience.
I also think that like in your world, what may be different is like those kids that have like the immense amount of talent, they've been told their entire life that they have an immense amount of talent. In our world, a lot of times, the immense amount of talent is downgraded to just like you're a grunt.
You're a workhorse. We're never going to promote you because, you know, like, I don't know, whatever, because people are dumb. I've
never totally got it. Like, you know, one of the few talents I feel like I have is that, like, you can zone in on people that have, like,
an incredible amount of talent and just, like, really capitalize on that and not only show them that they have it, but just explain to them how to make it better. In your case, I feel like it's the opposite. Like, kids that have talent at a young age, they're probably told that they have talent at a young age. In our game, like,
it's not like that.
Yeah. No, and the kids that do have talent, you are told you have talent, but like especially in baseball, like it's such a they nitpick every little part of the game, right? So like, you know, they can say about me like, oh yeah, you
can get hits and you can hit for average, oh, but you don't hit for power. Like there's always this moment or but like they will nitpick and like drive at any little thing like that. So you have to learn how to deal with that, right? Like dealing with adversity, like we talked about, like dealing with somebody trying to coach you up of saying like, hey, you're really good at this, but if you don't fix this little thing, then you're not gonna get to this point.
What was the thing that you never fixed?
Oh, my arms.
What got in the way of fixing it? Like, was that a thing that you were constantly trying to fix?
No, that's just like physical. My physical, like that was just a limitation I had. Where, like my body just didn't have that. You know, it's funny. Like I joke around. Like I could throw a football better than I do a baseball. And people would laugh because of the way I throw a baseball. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Like I could throw a football. Because I don't know something about this. But like this thing to me, it was like I don't know if like I don't know. It was just it just wasn't there for me. But I knew then I had to be just quicker, right? I had to get to the ball, just get rid of it quicker. And I'll tell my infielders like.
And now something getting traded to so many teams where like I'd have to tell the shortstop like, hey man, when the ball gets it to me, I need you to be right here. Like don't go. I'm not your traditional guy that can like just sit back and do like come do this and that. So like
I'll kind of make my adjustments off of that with my arm, which I knew was always my biggest weakness.
Interesting.
I know you haven't been in life after baseball for that long,
but
he's back in baseball.
No, I know, but life after like being a player, and now you know there's this tequila on the table because you brought it. And, talk a little bit.
I had some tequila. That means it's a long night.
Oh baby,
I don't ever drink tequila, so like you know we're in for it here.
Hey.
We're in for it.
Lo siento, bro. Lo siento.
Lo siento. There's a whole thing. What is this?
Right there, bro. It's right there.
Yeah,
No,
dude,
oh,
lo
that's
siento.
right. It's a whole logo.
Yeah,
I
live
like
long and lo siento. You know, talk a little bit about lessons from baseball that you've found.
apply out because I maybe I'm like making this up in my head, but I imagine baseball at that level is so like all consuming that you maybe don't even realize until you're out of baseball what lessons you're learning that will serve you outside of it. Does that make sense?
For sure. I think with baseball, the biggest thing is like, we said, it's like the restaurant business, right? Like, we play every single day. You have to show up every single day. You don't have time to sit back and be like, oh yeah, I did great today.
But like when you're in it, you're not thinking like, oh, this is a lesson that's going to serve me when I get into X, Y, and Z. Like,
no, but I take that same attitude and those same things of like, I got to grind every single day to get to this point. Like, all right, you know, in business, right? Like, okay, I have a meeting with, you know, whatever it is. All right, now I got to get to this point. Now you got to execute. Now you got to get to this point. So like, I've taken that from that of like that discipline, that routine, and just like, you know, seeing things through, and also the failure part of it, right? Where like you can get a meeting and then it might go horrible. All right, cool. We'll move on to the next one. Same thing as like, you know, in baseball, I'm 0 for 4.
0 for 3, but it's like, all right, maybe I made a play to help the team with something else. So that's the way I look at business, right? Where like it might have not gone well, but what did I learn from that? And I take that and then go on to the next meeting, and I just keep, you know, sharpening myself with stuff like that. Especially for me, like, you know, the last 2 years, I've really tried to, you know, get into my like entrepreneurial role of doing things. So like the tequila company, I had a good opportunity. My buddy and I,
Daniel Scalzo, we invested in it, and like
we didn't even know what was going on. Like we were just like, all right, we're gonna invest. We think it's a great product. I love the team behind it. I'm big on teams, right? Like you can have a great product, it's cool, but like
if you're on the team to execute and do the things the right way, then it doesn't matter what you have. So
like a lot of my basis is on that. So, those are the kind of the lessons I've taken. And it's the same thing I took from baseball, right? Where, yeah, I've been on talented teams, but guys didn't get along, or guys are selfish, or it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. So those are kind of the lessons I've taken now into the business world and what I'm doing, especially like even now with the Marlins job, right? I'm super excited because the players, super talented team, right? But on the leadership side now, like we have great leaders and guys that I know what they're about. I know exactly who they are. They're accountable guys. They're going to bring it every single day. So just by knowing how the coaching staff is and I can get along with those guys, I know we're going to make an impact on the players, right? And then now our job is what? Like, to get them to buy in and like, hey, this is how we do things and this is why we do things and get on that personal relationship. So I think it's all intertwined and like, all those lessons you had in football, like you're using those now even when you know you're doing it, and even when you don't know you're doing it.
Oh no, I use them all the time.
All the time. It all goes to that, right? And it's like, your work ethic comes from the same thing of like, I wasn't the most talented player. I was 5'7". I knew like if I worked hard, I can go to college, and that helped you get to college, and helped you get those things. And so I'm applying those same principles that I learned in baseball now to what I call now the real world, because baseball it's a crazy world that's it's not real. What I've gotten to do those 12 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is it always boils down to like the team. Like if someone understands what it takes to build a good team, because it's not just like a star player or a great X, Y, and Z. It takes so much more. There's so much more like foundation behind that. So much foundation building behind that people don't see, and that's okay. It's okay to not see like what it takes to build the foundation, but like understanding what it takes to build the foundation. That's what like real leadership is about. And like it's true. Like the shit that I learned playing ball for 10 years, like I still talk about it to this day. 1,000%. Like I still talk about it exhaustively to this day, because it's like your worst player, you need to work to get your worst player to be your best player, no matter what. And whether he or she continues to be that worst player, like get them on par to understand what it takes to be successful. That's what it takes to build like a great team. And I mean, cooking is a team game. That's
cooking is a team game. That's why I love the Star so much. That's why I actually do love all the awards that we've been nominated for.
Just like it's not a me game.
It's a him game. It's a team game. It's like the whole fucking thing, man. Like what it takes to build that culture. And when people buy in, it's so strong. It's so strong. Like when they buy in, you're not trying to convince them to be better. They are building the culture themselves. And that's what winning culture is all about. Like, and it's fucking hard, man. It's hard. It's fucking crazy how hard it is. People don't understand how hard that shit is to build. You can have it's something I think about all the time. It's like you have a great player, you have a great dish, right? Like the great dish only gets you so far. The great player only gets you so far. Because you still need all this other shit to make it work. It's fucking wild. Yeah. It's wild.
No, it's awesome how everything has to come together. And, it's like, you're great at what you do, but like the bigger challenge is like, all right, it's easy for me because I have work. But like now it's like, all right, how do I teach what I can do to the next person and to the next person, and the next person?
Well, what's interesting is like identifying the work ethic, identifying that in a person, like seeing that in somebody, seeing like, it's what we call like, are they a dog? Are they a dog? Are they gonna fight for you?
Are they gonna fucking claw for you? Like, are they a dog or are they not a dog? You can have the best resume in the world. You can have the best background in the world, but you may not. Yeah. You may not fit.
And that's okay.
That's fine. You may fit somewhere else.
But
for us and the culture that we
built
as like a whole company, I'm sure the same thing works in teams. Like, it just may not fit.
No, for sure. And that's where, I think you said leadership is like identifying that, right? Like,
understanding like how to push.
You know, you're gonna push everyone's button in a different way, right?
Well, but the hard part is like when it goes from being the dog to being the leader. Like being the dog to being the leader is like that. And it could be a year, it could be 4 years, it could be 2 years, it could
Be fucking 3 months. Like that bridge point of growth as a human being is like it's tough because
like dogging it out every single day to now identifying dogs and identifying
people who believe in culture. And that's tough because not only is it tough from the point that you have to identify that, now you have to remove yourself from that.
you have to remove yourself from the culture of like being in it every single day to like being on the outside and being like, okay, do these people have what it takes? Because you obviously you've won championships, you've been part of championship culture, you've been part of all those things, like the work ethic part. Now removing yourself, like you have it. How do you see it in somebody else?
That's the biggest challenge. Because, like I said, like it's easy for me to like, all right, when I play, like, all right, do this, do that. Like I didn't need anyone to tell me anything. I literally would like plan my whole off season. I planned all the things, and now it's like, all right, now I have to guide guys in this, and really like you said, you have to pick and choose your spots, and like it's a challenge. It's a fun challenge. It's a great fun challenge where it's like, and it's like for me with my kids, right? It's the same thing where like, I have to sit down with my kids and I'm teaching them how to handle different moments, and I'm teaching them how to handle different things. And I look at that now with my players. It's the same exact thing where like I'm instilling my knowledge and my experience, and like, all right, here's a way you can handle it, but like you said, on a remove level, which is the hardest part for me.
Well, you know what's interesting is because like it's a remove level, but we're not old, right? Okay, let's relax.
I mean, I'm younger and I feel like I'm pretty fucking old right now.
We're not old. Like you could probably still do it, right? Like, I mean, I every day I feel like I will fucking crush these kids every single day. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, but like you can't. You have to build the culture now. You have to step away. You have to build that culture. You have to build that like belief. You have to build that, nurturing to the next generation so they can nurture the generation that's after them. And it's super fucking tough.
Challenging.
It's a challenge, right? Because like it's like you could still hit balls, you could still throw balls. Like I could still fucking crush a saute station. I could still crush like whatever station. But it's like you have to remove yourself and be like, we're building. It's the building blocks to the next generation.
And it's humbling at the same time, like how it was humbling at the beginning. And it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy.
Like you said, it's like humbling in the beginning. Like that's what I told myself. Like I'm removing myself. I had my career as a player, and like now I'm starting at the bottom as a coach. Like
hey, I'm here, and like now I'm gonna, I want to work myself up to be a great coach, right? Which I haven't done that yet. So for me personally, like that's like it's fun waking up every day of like, all right, how am I gonna get myself better as a coach and the player
every day. So that's like we talked about that's my next journey right now. That's the journey that I'm on now, where as a coach, like I want to get to that destination of like winning World Series as a coach.
Having my outfielders win Gold Gloves, having the best base stealer in the big leagues, and having that pride of like knowing that like you played your part, like they did all the work, but behind the scenes leading them to that part. So that journey now is what like I live for. It's fun waking up every day and like thinking about these things and just challenging myself in this new role.
Well, look how long it took for Dusty Baker to win a chip. How long was he in Major League Baseball?
Dude, forever.
Forever.
And still doing it.
And he's still doing it. I mean, like, I don't remember the stat. He was in the league, player, coach, whatever, 40 plus years. And he finally won a chip. Like, I mean, you won a chip at 26.
It's crazy. 26.
And there's probably other people that have won chips younger. Like, it's just the way that life works out and the way that it shakes out for everyone is very different. And like the next journey that you choose and how you choose to live it, and how you choose to like own that moment, it's different for everybody. So I don't know. Did I totally get off track with like the question that you asked or no?
No, I mean, it was just sort of generally about leadership and, young talent on a team. So, we're more or less
In the ballpark.
I think that young talent is one thing. Work ethic and understanding what it takes to put that talent to practice is a completely different thing. So like you could be the most talented individual in the world, but not understand how to put that into practice. And that's when good coaching comes into play. And if you understand what it takes to take that good coaching and be like, okay, like, all right, I'm gonna take what this person is telling me and I'm actually gonna like apply it, it's a totally different aspect.
Correct.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I love that.
Well said.
I love that.
Man, what a podcast host.
I do my best, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that.
it was going a little overboard. The crowd got overexcited, It was all that lo siento
There you go.
that they've been sipping on. How are you feeling, Mike?
I'm feeling great, man.
You want to wind things down? You got other things you want to get into? We've been on baseball. I don't know if you want to get into other non-baseball things.
Well, no, I mean we've talked life after baseball,
Sure, yeah.
because it leads back into baseball now because we're like a first base coach now, but now we also have tequila, which I've had some of, and that's why we're so spicy tonight. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So spicy.
I feel extra spicy today.
Ay, caramba. I think, given that we're like kind of shifting into a little bit of a lull here, I think this is a good time to call in Chef Manny, who
I'm so worried about this.
he's got things.
Oh man, I'm so worried about
He's prepared
this.
a situation. I'd like for Manny to explain what is even happening here.
There's 2 Sharpies, and I'm concerned.
Just wanted an autograph. That's it. Said welcome home.
Oh, okay, very good. Manny has prepared autograph-related materials for both Mike.
2 pictures. Man, I look so good in this photo.
Oh man, that's so good. I gotta tell you.
Show it to that camera right there in front of you.
So,
that one over there.
yeah. So this photo of me is probably one of my better. So, at the time, I owned 2 button-up shirts.
I wore this one and suspenders, but also what was the key to this entire photo shoot was the fact that I wore Captain Crunch socks.
So good.
And I got the most comments about the Captain Crunch socks right here, those right there, that I have ever gotten in my entire life.
Sock game, man.
The sock game is strong. My sock game is super strong. Right now, I believe I'm wearing, what am I wearing? This is Bob Ross, I think.
Bob Ross.
No, this is what's his name? Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers socks. Yeah, no, the sock game is strong. So you want me to sign? Do you want me to sign this? Go fuck yourself, Chef Manny.
That's great.
Or what? Okay, that's fine.
So good. Do you want to transition into a wind down from here? Or do you have a...
Man, you can tell he's a pro because he's asking how to spell your name.
This is not his first rodeo, right?
No, you can tell he's a fucking pro because he's asking how to spell your name.
Actually, this is a thing that I wanted to get into before. This is a good time for it.
Do you have like a most memorable, whether it was good or bad, most memorable fan interaction? Like, is there a story that you find yourself telling about, like, oh, this one time I met this fan?
Not sure. Just a
General, like, there's a guy that he collects all my stuff. Like,
Yeah?
literally,
Oh,
like,
yeah?
everything. Like,
Where is he?
Every jersey.
St. Louis, here.
He's from the Midwest.
Okay.
He's from the Midwest.
Like Cards fan.
Cards fan. So, like, he has all my stuff. But, like, he has, like, UM jerseys. He has, like,
every team I've been on. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Like,
Just you? Or
just for me personally, like my personal collection.
why you? Like,
he's just a fan. He's a fan of me.
but did you have you interacted with him?
Yeah, I talked to him.
So like, have you ever asked him like, why me? Why not any of the other
Nah,
guys?
he just says I like the way you play and I just like the way you are. All that stuff. It's like weird, but
how does that feel for you?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm like of all
Is
people,
it?
me.
Yeah, I know Mike probably wouldn't feel the same way about it.
No, I don't. It's okay.
Yeah. So it's cool and like like I like
collecting things and stuff. So like
like and he'll have stuff in mind that like oh man like oh yeah I remember this or I remember that and it's crazy like has like bags and bats and helmets and like
we have like name tags in the locker room. Like so he has like everything.
How does he get like name tags?
So
like,
yeah, so I mean they'll grab those and put them. They'll sell them in the team one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he goes to all the auction stuff.
He goes to all the stuff online and like there's so much access to stuff now. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. So like for example like
when we break a bat or whatnot, the team will get it and we usually autograph it and then they'd sell it in the team store.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that would work. With
So
that.
related question. So, of
the memorabilia that's been made of your stuff. Because I know I have like a little bit of a view into that because I used to be into the card thing. So there's all like the jersey swatches. Like, do you have a personal favorite Jon Jay piece that maybe you have it or maybe you just know it exists in the
the
world?
Sports Illustrated article. The cover.
Yeah, but like a like a collectible. I know that's kind of a collectible, but
I don't think I'm on. I never got like a bobblehead, like a big one of that.
but like one that you saw that you were like, man, that's pretty fucking cool. Other than the picture that you have in front of you right now that you just sent.
This one's legit. I'm trying to think. It's all been pretty normal stuff. Nothing
Yeah.
like out of the ordinary.
All right. Mike, you got anything you want to do before we go into the wind down?
I'm looking up Jon Jay rookie card.
oh, that's good. That's good. We'll put this up with the magic of editing.
We will
Later
oh,
on.
man.
All right, so we're going to transition into our wind down. Usually, what we do is we start with parting recommendations. So,
This is different from our shameless plugs. Parting recommendations is where you recommend literally, dude, I found one.
you found a rookie card?
I did.
Yeah, is it good?
$2, bro.
$2. Yeah, I know. You're gonna sign
what are you
this
on
bitch,
eBay?
guy.
$2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're gonna sign this motherfucker, man.
I'm gonna frame this and put it in
Yeah?
my office.
Nice.
This is so good.
nice.
We got your jersey, bro.
I know, but this
he's worried
is
about the
so
$2
Let's
good.
go
card.
right
I got
next
him
to
a
it. This goes
jersey.
right next to it.
A real jersey.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that this is you because you look a lot skinnier here.
No, that's
No
definitely
offense. No offense.
No, you worked out a lot. Good for you.
So you can recommend anything as long as it's not your stuff, because then we're going to do shameless plugs after. So it could be a book you read, a movie you watched, a song, like whatever, and you can do as many as you want. But something you want to recommend to people. You can go first, or you can let other people go. So you have a little bit of time to think about it, because I know we're springing this on you.
Definitely think about it.
Well,
You got party.
What are we doing?
Party recommendations.
oh, yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, you ready?
I'm trying to buy this card though.
All right, so I'm gonna make a couple of recommendations.
Yeah, you go first.
So one recommendation is the Get Upside app. It's called Get Upside. This is an app that there's like a bunch of merchants on it.
February 9th.
You do a purchase, you take a picture of your receipt.
You get a little money back. Good for a lot of gas stations. And also all of the Ariat Hospitality Group things. I got like $8 from a Chugs bill earlier today.
You're welcome.
Well, I don't know if that, I don't know how that works on the back end, but
I have no idea how that
yeah,
works.
so $8.
Hit up the office.
Also, I'm recommending Revolution in the Ring. This is a 30 for 30 short. So it's like,
you told me about this.
yeah, it's like under 30 minutes. It's about Teofimo Stevenson. Did I get the name right? That's his name, the boxer. Cuban boxer. Yeah.
I mean, you can say Teofimo if you're a super.
How does it spelled?
Teofimo.
Oh, but how's it spelled?
Teofimo, I believe.
Teofimo.
Yeah, not sure. I mean, yeah, if you want to say it like that.
That's how people say his name.
Yeah, Pastelitos and Teofimos.
Okay.
So Teofimo Stevenson.
Documentary about him. I will say it is loaded with a lot of questionable takes on Cuba and the Cuban government. As an example, I forget where this came from, but like somebody in the documentary, maybe I think it was like one of the people interviewed, talks about how like one of his famous lines. So the story of Teofimo Stevenson was that he was an amateur Cuban boxer,
ostensibly, like at least outwardly, super pro revolution. And a lot of the documentary is about the fact that like there was this push to put together a fight between him and Muhammad Ali that never happened. And so like, you know, boxing fans talk about like this fight that never happened as like one of the greatest fights that never happened. I would recommend watching it just because like it's a compelling.
I would also say that like take a lot of the detail with a grain of salt because they say things like, for example, how, you know, in a press conference or something, somebody was asked, you know, he was asked about why he turned down a certain amount of money to fight Ali, and he said something like, you know, I would rather have the love of however many millions of Cubans than however many millions of dollars. And he said, oh, well, you know, these were things that he really felt because, you know, back in those days, boxers didn't have PR. Like, yeah, maybe Muhammad Ali didn't have a massive PR machine, but Teofimo Stevenson had the biggest PR machine in the hemisphere of the Cuban dictatorship. So, like, relax. I'm sure he was fed that line
to say, and if he wasn't fed it, he said it at least conscious that, like, if he said anything else, it was going to be a problem. But a compelling story. I recommend this documentary. It's like an interesting
thing to be aware of. So, revolution in the ring, 30 for 30 short.
I love that.
Yeah. What you got? Wow.
You go first.
Oh man, on the spot. Man, on the spot.
I mean,
I'd say.
I love this. It's so good. This whole thing, this new world of Pancom Podcast is so good. I know. Maybe not for everyone.
Hey man, what I got for you is I recommend reading the book The Mamba Mentality.
Oh,
okay.
You know, everybody wants to say like, and you see it now, like kids will hashtag, oh, Mamba mentality. Like, no, like read the book and see what this was really about. Like, when you see Kobe Bryant's, you know, theme of the night, work ethic, like, it was ridiculous. You know, like he talks about like, yeah, I used to get up at 3 so I can get a workout from 4 to 6. You know, eat breakfast, hang out for a couple hours, and then I'd get another workout in, and then
hang out and then get another workout in, and that's why he was who he was and won championships and was great, you know. So I think for me, it like really details and like we talked about today, like you can apply all these things to everything.
That was accidental. That shit.
I mean, like, like Kobe. So I like his like I don't. I obviously don't love to like wake up every morning and like go work out, and then what I do is to like motivate myself, I listen to Kobe interviews.
Sick.
And it's just like, it's automatic. It's like that guy's mentality was like second to none. He was a fucking legend. Like he was just like, I didn't want to do it, and I did it anyways. And I'm just like,
they're jumping like 25 minutes of rope, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. And you just listen to Kobe, and you're just like, he hated it too, but he did it because he wanted to be better than everyone else. And it's like, obviously we're older, so like I'm sitting there
boxing against kids that are like
10, 12 years younger than me, and I'm like,
you know, I'm doing this because I really, like, I'm pushing myself to do it. You're doing it because you think you have a chance. Like, you think you have a chance. And the fact that I'm going to beat you up for the next 3 rounds, like, you probably don't have a chance.
but like Kobe pushing me to that point
Every single day. It's every day. It's wild. Like, that dude, he was on a different level.
Yeah.
He really was.
And it was cool watching that Netflix documentary on I forgot what the USA team that what the redemption team and all that, and like Kobe came to that team and like
Carmelo and D-Wade and like LeBron, and like he showed these guys like what work ethic, you know, they all had a work ethic, but he showed them like really like, no, this is what it takes. Like, this is, and they're talking about, I think it was Carmelo's like, yeah, you know, I'm coming home from going out and I see Kobe in the elevator and like he's going to go work on the gym, and I was like, oh man, what is going on here right now? You know, so like for me, like that book it's awesome. It really just highlights things. I love looking up stuff there all the time, which is like, you know, constant little reminders that we need to, you know, get to that point. So I try to make it a point to like get younger guys that book. I remember when I was in the White Sox, I think it was. I remember I bought a bunch of those books and just gave it to all the kids there. Like, hey, check out this book. Like, take it personal. Like read what it's saying and like take it personal for real. So that's my one tidbit.
This is part of your recommendations.
Correct.
Okay.
So I watched a documentary that was on HBO about the saga between Gotti Ward, the Mickey Ward.
Fucking, like Mickey Ward was like a journeyman boxer, and then he boxed against Gotti, beat him the first time,
Lost the second time, lost the third time, but then they became like very good friends. And Gotti was like this very talented boxer, but he just like wasn't the guy, right? Like he boxed against several other people, ended up getting like split super hard. But he was like, I just want one more match. He ended up coaching the guy. Mickey Ward ended up
being the guy in his corner for his last bout. And just like that whole documentary was like, it was really eye-opening to the world of boxing, like how I think personal and how intense it is for people that are like true boxers, like how.
And take it to like, they take it to another level that they shouldn't take it to. I mean, Gotti should have retired before. He ended up dying very like weird, strange circumstance. Anyways, the documentary is great. I recommend that very heavily. It's on HBO Max. I was a fan.
And now for shameless plugs.
I got one more recommendation.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
Go
That's
for
fine.
it. Go for it. Go for it.
I did a thing I never do.
Right. Okay, there it is. I did a thing I never do. I don't like working out with people. I love to work out by myself. I don't really love people. So like, I like to just work out, do my thing, my 90 minutes alone, whatever it is.
So I did a group workout for my good friend Lynette Cairo, right, on a Saturday.
Of Men's Health fame.
Of what?
Men's Health.
Oh, she was in Men's Health with me. That's so funny. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
She did this group workout. We went. It was great.
This was at Fingata.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish.
There's a lot of dead air here with this.
I mean, Rachel and I go. Apparently, like the workout started at 10. We got there at 10:20. The invite said 10:30, but whatever. That's semantics.
That sounds like not semantics. That sounds like somebody fucked up the invite.
That sounds like people need to calendar me at the right time. That's all I'm saying.
That sounds like somebody doesn't understand the Cairo concept of a calendar invite.
Right. So, anyways, we show up. We do this workout. It was fine. They give me a drink ticket.
Great.
At this point, I'm like, I really want to go home after the thing. I'm done. I get a drink ticket. I go to the bar at Finca. I have one drink. Floodgates open. I have more drinks.
Great.
I have more drinks, and then Eileen is with us. We have more food. The food was delicious. We had a great time. Service was awesome. I was very happy with the experience that we had.
Yeah.
And the entire like thing from like service, food, the whole time, it was a very good time.
We got to get Eileen back.
Back in here.
We need to get Eileen loose.
I don't know
like
what that
having
means,
a
but
good time. She wasn't like having a good time. She was
We'll get
like
her in here with some Lo Siento.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could keep Lo Siento on the table all day, every day.
They'll be here all week.
What I'll do is I'll put Lo Siento with the Sports Illustrated on one side, and now that I own the rookie card that will be here on February 7th.
Yeah.
to the other side. We'll just do this like whole shrine to Jon Jay.
We should really have him sign that bottle of Lo Siento.
Woof.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I got all the good ideas over here.
Man, thank God you're here, Nick. Jeez.
Ads at dademag.com. All right, so shameless plugs. No, you didn't do shameless plugs. You added a parting recommendation thing.
I added one.
Okay.
I have a shameless plug.
So okay, well we'll let our guests do shameless plugs.
All the places that people can find you and your stuff online in the world.
Oh man, so here we go.
Instagram, web, whatever you want to tell people.
Find the
about
Miami
you.
Marlins.
Yeah,
First
Man,
base.
so obviously come visit the park, come say what's up at the Marlins Stadium, and then on the other side, visit losientotequila.com. Also involved with Slate chocolate milk, so you can have some tequila, and then in the morning, you can have some chocolate milk as well. So Slate chocolate milk as well, and then
If you need sunglasses,
I like that. You can have tequila and chocolate milk in the morning.
chocolate milk in the morning,
Yeah.
after your workout, Chug, we'll hook you up.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
then, the days, and then when you want to road around, we got to hook you up, check out tomahawkshades.com for affordable sunglasses.
Tomahawkshades.
Man, what a world.
Wow.
What a world.
Like I said, ads at dademag.com. Shameless plugs, Mike.
And then one more. I got one
Oh,
more.
sure, yeah,
I
go
gotta
for it,
shout
go
out
for it.
my t-shirt here. Friends and family.
What is
Miami,
that?
Miami stuff.
You
right
can
here.
find it at Urban Outfitters nationwide.
That's right. That's right.
Really? Okay.
Urban
I'm so
Outfitters
good at this
nationwide.
ads thing.
Look at this
So
shit.
friends and family, local guy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I'm happy to
support local. Vic Garcia as well on the hat. So I like to keep it Dade County.
Watch out.
That's it.
Michael Beltrán, shameless plug.
So I have two parts to the shameless plugs.
Yep.
Maybe 3.
Go for it.
It depends when the shit's released.
You do what
so
you
I
gotta
don't know.
do. You gotta do
But
what
the
you gotta
first part is all the things.
Soon we'll have a button for the song, but yeah.
All things.
Very good.
I got
Go for it. Go for it.
You got me inspired again. So we talked about earlier, sitting in this room, how we used to have we had the after party a couple times. The after party, like a little dinner.
for Ice Club charity event benefiting the Boys and Girls Club. So I'm happy to announce that we have the Jay Family Foundation, and we're going to be having an event in June in Miami, and we're going to be doing more things in the community as well. So
Nice.
be on the lookout for Jay Family.
So
Love that.
let's
Good
go.
stuff.
Love that.
AKA the Hype Family Foundation.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
I love that.
Hi, everybody. Final shameless plugs. Are we doing a lightning round, by the way?
Sure. I could bang on the lightning round.
Shameless plugs, dademag.com for all of your Banco podcasts and blind tasting and other such things needs. If you want to advertise with us, ads at dademag.com. And you can find Bangkong Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. No, not SoundCloud, not anymore. Sorry, SoundCloud.
Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and
Also,
DadeMag.com/Bangkong Podcast.
we're Bangkong Podcast on all the things. That's Bangkong Podcast, like a podcast sandwich, not Panko Podcast, not Pumpkin Podcast, not Pinko Podcast, but Bangkong Podcast.
Yeah, that's all the plugs. Shout out to Aquapana, San Pellegrino, Barrel,
Shout out to the people that pay for this
Hagen
shit.
Orsa, Drew Estate.
Wild.
All these sponsors.
It's crazy.
we got
People
now.
paying for this shit now. Like,
You know what it is? We got
I'm
people
fucking
now.
out.
People are now
This is
entering
crazy.
into multi-event deals. You know
wow.
what that is? Get the fuck out of here.
It's a mic drop situation. I can't drop this thing, but I would. This whole thing, I would just drop it.
Just don't. We don't have that many sponsors. If you are a paying Patreon person, you will hear the lightning round after these air horns.
And if you're not a paying Patreon person, just give us $1, stop being a cheap fuck, and just like join in on the
I
fun.
mean, listen, there's a lot of inflation going on.
Welcome to the lightning round.
Well, but hold on. Thank you, Jon Jay.
Oh, right. That's right.
You
We
know,
never
thank
do
you
that.
for being
We never
here.
do that.
Thank you, Lo Siento.
Lo siento that you're not a sponsor yet, but we'll see what we can work out. But in the meantime, we're getting paid in tequila. Lightning round coming right up.
Thanks to all you Patreon
5
people.
questions.